And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we'll be discussing the recently closed ammo events that BSG posted for the community. Then we're going to talk about NDAs and ETS and the year 2023 and boo, we hate them. Also, we'll be talking about the GreyZone announcement trailer, I think, or was this like a secondary gameplay trailer that made its rounds on the interwebs. And then we'll talk about Nawkwon as well, balancing FPS games, and then perhaps we'll have time for some comments. Yeah, so how was the event, Giga? How was it?
It was good.
Some things about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. It's another one of those events that's a little bit weird because I just hope or wish that they would do something and really like throw a curveball in. Because so the basics of the event was pretty much everything above, I think it was about 35 pen,
right?
got removed from the traders, and I think also from the flea. Like, if you could buy those things on the flea before, I don't think you could buy them anymore temporarily. There was that like weird UN notice that went out saying all of these ammos are banned. So that includes like basically everything within 762 by 54R, which is quite funny, outside of the ones at the bottom. All the regular stuff, 56A1, 55A1 for 556 was gone. PP, BP, BT for 545. So like all the good stuff, just not there anymore. You could craft ammo still in the hideout. So you could still make PP, CBJ, M995, like anything like that you had access to craft, you could still make it. But obviously those things are on a very long timer. Those ones are normally about 13 hours. So if you want to play like and actually do the quest that you got given during the event, then it would take you a bit longer. Now I can't remember if the quest had appeared when we talked last, but I guess
I don't think
not.
So.
No. So alongside this ammo scarcity event, the quest appeared from Peacekeeper called Punisher Harvest. This is like a new version of the Punisher thing, Punisher questline / Punisher tournament. Like, it's all kind of the same sort of vibe. And you had to kill 50 players and hand in 50 dog tags above level 25, I think it was. I know you got it on screen. I can't quite see. Is it 25?
Yeah.
And that was sort of a controversial one a little bit. I mean, well, not really controversial, but that one tripped a few people up. I think there's
really?
There seems to be two types of players in the Tarkov community. One type of players that hoards all the dog tags because BSG often uses them in end events for various like barters when stuff is hard to find, or you can get alt-ins for 10 level 45 dog tags and stuff like that. So I'm one of those players that tends to keep all the dog tags. Like, I don't really need the money desperately, so I don't usually sell them, and they're useful for stuff and dailies and whatnot as well. And the other side of the player base that sells all their dog tags just to get that influx of cash and try and make their PvP a bit more profitable. And so if you were that kind of player, like, you had to then kill 50 and extract with. I don't think it was finding raid. It wasn't necessary to be finding raid, so you could just put them in your sit case.
Okay.
But you had to extract with and basically kill and extract in some fashion, like kill and loot the body of 50 players above level 25. So if you killed anybody 25 and under, you basically had to go and do even more of the quest to get enough of the tags to actually complete it. So I had all the tags before I even started. Didn't hand them in because I wanted to min-max the minimum level possible, so I did it all at the end. But it meant that I didn't have to worry about it, so I could just like kill the dudes. So chat's saying they did have to be finding raid. I thought some other people said they didn't have to be finding raid. I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure, and I didn't really think about it. I guess maybe they did because I didn't have that many when I clicked like turn in. So maybe they did
want them to as well because TKing, or does it still force the level to 0, or is that not a thing? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, that's like puts them to 1 ruble.
Oh, 1 ruble. Oh, okay.
So I guess you could do that. Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense for them to make it finding raid, and most everything else is.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so it probably was finding raid then. Either which way, it didn't really matter to me because I had all the stuff anyway. So yeah, that like really guppered up some people. So I guess like if you died with it in your container, you actually had to extract them with a survive. And I mean, I had one weird raid where I like saw somebody right off the rip, killed them, looted their body, and left, and I got a run through for a PMC, which was quite annoying. And especially if you needed those tags, it'd be a pain. But anyway, it was pretty fun. I think people went to some people went to different maps to do it. Some people went on woods just to take it nice and slowly. Some people went to customs because it's customs is quite a Thunderdome towards the end of the white. And then 95% of people just went on factory and just juked it out there because it's just by far the fastest way to do the quest. And 50 PMC kills is actually quite a lot. Like, And then we were talking about some of my stats because I'm not the typical Shift W player, so I tend not to. And I don't have that many raids. I'm just shy of 400 raids now, which is really not many. Most of you listening probably will have more than 400 raids, and I have got 301 PMC kills. So I got 50 of the 300 that I've had the whole wipe in the last week. Just because you spam factory over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And you just get them real quick. So yeah, I think that's an okay rate. Like it took, we did 2 sessions. I got 21 on the first session, got to 41 on the second session, and then had 9 to do on the Thursday. Which I think is about right, because I remember when I was doing the Punisher tryouts for that the Pestley tournament, which ended up being late for the entry, and I probably wouldn't have got it anyway because I didn't have that higher score. But I think a player like me was getting 30 in the 3 hours, and that was spamming the raids and slamming the raids out, having stuff preset and setting a timer for the 30, for the 3 hours and that kind of thing. So getting 21 in a slightly more chilled way, I guess it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I found it really fun. I haven't had an excuse to go to factory for a while. I really enjoyed duking it around factory. I think especially some people who are newer to the stream as well. I think some people are quite surprised when I go to factory, because I really do like chatting around on factory. It's great, and I know the map really well because it's not that big. It's much more formulaic than some of the other maps, and I feel very comfortable and at home there. Obviously, you die a bunch in silly ways, but with the event and people actually actively going for kills too, and just the PvP felt amazing. Was a lot of fun. I tried out loads of different things. Basically came to some short takeaways. I came to the conclusion that leg meta just isn't really very good. It's okay. We had success with the Vector. Maybe I'll go into this now a little bit. We had some success with the Vector with Rip, the 45 Vector, because it does 130 damage to the leg. And I did this little explainer partway through because we tried the P90 with the R37F, and that used to shred people. But I found it really hard to get any kills. I killed one guy who I caught completely by surprise, who was we were down in the tunnel section, and he was facing 90 degrees away from me, and I nearly died to this man, because the way that the leg changes have affected the leg meta thing, right? The 30% cut that your damage takes, the P90's highest damage round, R37F, only does 98 in the first place. So when you cut 30% off that, it really starts to hurt, right? You get the first 65 at the full value, and then everything after that is cut by a great extent. And yes, you could shoot both legs, so there's a little bit of a tweak there. But
is it a 30% reduction, or it's a 30% total? It's a 70% reduction.
It's a 30% reduction. Okay. Yeah. So the spillover is now, it goes through at 70% of the original. So you do, I mean, it's 69 per bullet, or
69,
roughly something like that.
6,
yeah, something like that. Which is a lot less than it used to. So it used to 5-shot people into one single leg, and now it's 7 hits. And then when you account for the misses and stuff, let's put it this way: the PPSH before the change used to be 7 with LRNPC, or was it AKBS? Either or. I think it was the same. And then after the change, the PPSH is 11 shots or something.
Yeah,
so that's a lot. The P90's gone from 5 to 7, which I think is noticeable. Especially you don't hit every bullet. If you hit every shot at 900 RPM, yeah, they die. That's fine. But it gives them a decent enough amount of time to turn around and mess you up, as they're using normal bullets. Even just taking 2 or 3 shots across your body is enough to really put you in trouble. They don't just instantly die. Whereas the Vector with 45 Rip, that's gone from 4 shots to 5 shots, and the fire rate's higher, right? It's 900 to 1100 on the 45 Vector, and that didn't feel as noticeable to me. A combination of the fire rate and the damage.
Yeah.
1 extra bullet doesn't matter too much. But yeah, once you take into account misses and stuff, it does start to hurt a bit.
Right.
But we shredded people with the Vector, and the P90 really didn't. It felt very rough to me. And then outside of that, tried a few other different things. I ran with the Val a little bit. The MP7, I died to the Gilla a couple of times because it just doesn't do enough damage. Recoil's kind of weird on it. And the thing that I had the most success with was the M4. Honestly, the M4 was really good. I tried the New Mutant a little bit. We had a little bit of RD play, but I really just found that the M4 was just so good. Like we were running meta M4s basically, like low 30 recoils and high ergo with like shaker suppressors and growl grips and all that kind of stuff. And because I had 995 and 85501 saved up, I really do think that like 995 5501 is so good for fighting players. I know people always say like, oh, the intermediate cartridges, there's just not enough damage and da. And I think that's certainly true for like the MP7 and for 545. But for 556, M905 plus, like if you hit your shots properly, M905 plus 5501, it does enough damage to really shred people. You can still one-shot somebody through a Tagilla face shield with M905, which surprised me. I actually didn't think it would do that, but because the damage is high enough, it still does, which is quite interesting.
We did it like 37, 39? Or
it's like
40?
really close. It's like what the actual damage on M905. Yeah, M905 is 42.
Oh, okay, much higher.
And so it goes. So it goes. It is good. Yeah. So it goes down to like 35.8 or something. It's like 36 damage once it's gone through the damage reduction.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like 53 pen. So it's there or thereabouts. But it just about works and just about kills. And then 5501 is just such a good bullet on its own. And I was just going like 10, 20. It's how I did. You remember when I basically did like a month on labs looking for the far forward kits? I was using the AK-101 there, and I did the same. I was going 10 M905, 20, 855A1. And against players, it's great. Like against AIs, it's a bit rough. But on Factory for a Punisher event, like outside of Tagilla, who it ended up being okay because you can just shred his helmet with if you've got 905 at the start. It ended up working really well. And like we had such a good time with it. Like people not wearing a helmet or like wearing a class 4, you just instantly pen them and they die. Because you're the high RPM, you've just got a higher chance of hitting them in the head. It's like that perfect balance between like low recoil, the damage is decent, you'll kill them with the body shots. If you just so happen to spike off a headshot, if they're using a slower RPM weapon, you're more likely to just hit one and then you just instantly win. Like it was just really good. It felt so good. I got most of my kills with it. And it just, it was great. It was great. So that was fine for me. I obviously had the ammo I had enough ammo of 556 to not have to worry about other stuff. This is why we tried some leg meta things though, just to sort of get into the swing of the event, because I think that was probably the next best thing that you could get if you had run out. And lots of people were asking me like, I don't have anything above 37 pen. I haven't got any. I haven't stockpiled anything. Like, what can I do? So I was like, well, try like Magnum Buck leg people if you're higher level than, because this is one of the issues too, is that the good leg meta stuff is often really high level. I think like 45 rip is mechanic 4 or something. So if you're like, mid 20s or whatever, like your choices are really limited.
Yeah, you can still buy the flea, but you're gonna pay. I mean, historically they've been over 1,000 rubles,
and especially during the event, I guess, because everybody wants to buy them. I can actually quickly look it up.
I was gonna ask too. I mean, I feel like I know the answer, but just wanted to make sure you could still craft the ammos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
But obviously, that would last you maybe 1 or 2 raids.
Yeah, and it takes ages to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not very
I mean, I guess you could craft some SMG bullets, but like one of the weird things about the meta of it was that for picking up the quest, you got given 2 Reese helmets.
Yeah.
And 2 Thor armors, the class 6s. So a lot of people were just using them because they were free. And because the high pen issue meant that a lot of people couldn't buy the bullets to even deal with them, which meant that a lot of people then were starting to use leg meta. So yeah, like 45 rip last week was somewhere between 1,800 and 2,500 per bullet, which when you're firing it at 1,100 RPM, that's expensive. Let me tell you, it's expensive. Yeah, so it was kind of a funny meta. Like going turbo kitted on Factory was actually like the worst it's ever been, because normally people are geared for like the average player, like class 5 armor, class 4 helmet. And so you go with BP or, I mean, BP will still be really good. But because of the prevalence of the class 6, like monster armor and the Reese helmets, lots of people started running leg meta instead.
I'm surprised people just didn't run the SVT or AVT.
Well, they did. Some people did, but a lot of people just hadn't stockpiled those. I got killed by SMB a couple of times, so that was another thing that people were doing. Anybody who'd crafted that worked, obviously.
But I see what you're saying, because you get these kits. Like a lot of people had, like when the event first popped off, everyone had good armor, good helmet, right?
Yeah,
but maybe
and because everyone was trading, right? Yeah, so everyone was just like, you'd kill someone with a Thor, you'd take it, you'd use the Thor, someone else would kill you, they'd take the Thor. Like there were lots of Thors, I can't remember what's their starting HP. Is it like 95 during in game or something? I can't really remember. I'll have to go and have a look. Thor
85
integrated.
is my guess.
Oh, it's 90. Yeah, it's
Okay.
90. And I saw them down to like 47,
Yeah.
like 38, like stuff like this. Like people had like taken them again and
Yeah.
again and again and again and again into the raid. And in fairness, even down to as the usual rule of thumb, at half durability, it acts like the class below. So even at 45, it's still kind of like a class 5, like a sort of crappy class 5. I mean, it's got a lot of durability anyway. So even at half dur, it's probably on par with like a HPC rig or something you would imagine, albeit with a lot of weight. So
I'm assuming you didn't see a lot of the HKs that they gave you.
I did see a couple of HKs. I saw a few. I took a few, disassembled them, and sold them all. I sold all of mine. I didn't use it once. I didn't even try.
It looks
But yeah,
like
I saw a couple.
It looks like the HK build from like patch 11.
I know, it was like a tease almost.
Yeah.
Like genuinely like a tease. Like,
It's
don't
like
tease
the
us with the
labs
glory
loadout
days.
from patch
I
11.
know. It's like the Chad Labs loadout. I know, it's so sad. So sad. But anyway, yeah, I took a couple of those and just disassembled them because I don't think it's a good gun. I mean, it's not for me at least. Some people might be able to make it work, but I certainly can't. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I thought it was really good. It's pretty basic though, like fairly basic event, but it just incentivized people to actually push for the kills, like not be too because I'm not really one to worry about campers and stuff. It's just kind of part of the game, and I don't worry about it too much. But it really decreased the number of people playing like that. Like everybody was just like sprinting around shift Wing, and it is fun to play like that sometimes, especially on factory.
Yeah,
which was cool. And yeah, we had some good plays. Good plays too. I had one in particular that was quite fun. Killed like one guy with an SVD in one of the stairwells, and then ran into the bathrooms. And I was like trying to heal, and there was somebody else. I think maybe it was his duo. Who was like sprinting after him. He was a little bit further away, and I was in the the central bit of the bathrooms where there's the hole in the floor.
Yeah.
And just as he was like coming around, he was like running around, and I just like dropped down through the hole and just like sprayed him up through the hole into that. And he was just like, "Where's he gone? Where is he?" And I just killed the guy up there, which was cool. I was like, "Oh, I'm quite proud of that." And there's like one which was it was mixed. I like again on the stairwells in the bathrooms. There's a dude coming up the stairs, and I sprinted up behind him. He didn't even like see me, and I shot at him, but the railing saved him. And I ran into the bathroom, reloaded a 40 rounder, and there was him. He'd gone directly right. This is from the vending machine stairs next to gate 3, the one just on the inside. So like went directly right into the bathrooms, and there was him, and then another teammate behind him, and just like just shredded all the way down. Like they killed both of those guys. Yeah. Ran out, reloaded, ran back in. There was a third who was left peeking, but I didn't see him in time, so he got 1 or 2 shots. I sprint left. There's another guy comes around the corner from the other end of the bathrooms. I kill him, reload, sprint back up again. The first guy's like, come and run back in to try and grab me while I'm fighting the other guy. Kill him as well. And so it was like 4 kills in like 19 seconds, which is crazy. The first guy was like level 9. The second guy was level like 3 or something. I was like, oh no, this is awful. And then the other two were like, the Chad of the group, who I think because it was a duo and one guy on his own, I think. He was like level 17 or something. I was like, this isn't great. And then the last guy was like 40 odd. So I was like, okay, like that's kind of mixed, but it does, you feel bad when you just like turn up and just like storm in with a Meta M4 and just murder a load of guys who are like under level 20. It's like, this doesn't feel as victorious as, well, I guess it doesn't necessarily make you feel bad, but it's just like, I don't feel as victorious as I felt while I was doing it, Somebody called it post-kill clarity in chat, which I thought quite accurately summed it up.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was good. So yeah, it was good. It was good. And then after completing it, you got a thick case, and like thick items case, and like $20,000, which is good. Oh, and the most important part of the unlock is that you got access to a bunch of stupid endgame ammo.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kind of the start of the end game. Yeah, you've got it up there. I know that you could get 7N40. You could buy 7M40, by the way, for those who aren't completely up on all the lingo of all of the numbers and whatever stuff that we throw around on this cast. That's the insane unicorn ammo from 545 with the negative recoil modifier on it. So no one ever gets this really, but it's extremely powerful. It's one of the only 545 ammos that actually does like decent damage. So rather than doing, PP is 44, BP is 45, BT is 42, BS is 40, and then 7M40 is 52 just out of nowhere, right? So it's a lot more like 556. It's like 52 damage and 44 pen. And one thing that's actually kind of sad about it is that like 7M40 is like total unicorn, like you never find it anywhere. Like it's impossible to find. And it's like very analogous to 55A1 that is currently purchasable on Peacekeeper 3. And it's like one of the issues with 545, right? Like I know this thing has got minus 20 recoil, so that's like the reason why it's so insane. But the damages are really low on 545.
Even
So
if it
yeah, to
didn't
this
have
thing.
like the 20 recoil reduction,
Mhm,
it still would be like because
mhm.
the AK shoots slower and
I know,
like
and
the
people would only use it.
recoil. I mean, the recoil is like kind of low, but nowadays the M4 is lower. I'm pretty sure once you fully kit it out, right? It's got to be.
Possibly. So you basically need the recoil to make it make sense, and like it's
Mhm.
it's tricky. It's basically the only good bullet. You can buy that for like I think it's like $19. So it's a lot. It's like $2,500 per bullet,
Yeah,
which is like it's
it's not
pricey,
cheap.
but it's not too bad. I mean, let me triple check. It's 740. So I actually bought some of that myself. You can buy it's $19. So you can buy 90 of those per reset, which is it's pretty good. I mean, I don't think it's too much. I think it's fine. It's like it's on par with like crafting good stuff, and you can buy every reset, which is fine. I can't buy M61 because I haven't completed Shooterborn, but you can now buy M993. That's only $20, which I think is a steal. To be honest, you can only buy 20 bullets of it though, which I think is fine. I think that is okay. If they introduced 7N40 and you could buy 20 in the main game after completing some stupid quest, I feel like that would also maybe be okay. And then there's a bunch of others as well. What are the other ones that you can buy? I haven't checked on the others. Those are the only ones I was really interested in. Does it say that? What does it say on the screen?
PBB, APSX, SSAP, MAI, AP. So basically all the unicorn rounds for the 5.56, the 5.45, the 7.62, 9mm.
So APSX is $11, which is actually quite cheap. I think that's like
Yeah, but
1,500. And APSX makes the MP7 endgame. Like that's why the APSX is important. I think something like SSAAP is silly because M905 is better than SSAAP. SSAP is like too low. You end up into like 545 territory. But then MAI AP is really good. It's better than BP, and that's $23.
is pretty good.
That is like bonkers good. So
But I think with the SSAP or SSAP APSX is for the MP5 is just the damage is so low that it just makes headshots kind of bad.
yeah, it does for sure. It does for sure. But yeah, if people are wearing a Reese T and a Thor, then it's the only way to make the MP7 sensible, I think. But then if you run into Tequila, then he kills you. Basically, you
But
just can't deal enough damage.
You can't even headshot the wrist T, right? Like I don't even think you can. I guess you can pin it, but by the time you pin it, it's just not going to kill him.
It's too. It has to be 2 shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, APSX won't kill somebody with no helmet.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah. So you have to hit them twice.
That fact alone just like immediately turns me off of it.
Yeah.
It used to not be the case, which was like fine back then. Like it was actually really good back then, in my opinion. But,
yeah.
Yeah, hearing you describe your loadout choices in 4, it just kind of sounds like it has all the good things you want in an SMG, but with like a bigger bullet. It has high rate of fire, low recoil, but it has a better bullet. So like, why would you get like the best of both worlds? SMG like performance in a rifle.
So why some people kind of don't mind. I actually saw quite a lot of MCX usage with CBJ.
Yeah,
I think people have been buying CBJ because you can buy so much. So there's a lot of people who had it stockpiled, and it was like the only thing they had left, I imagine. Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm going to use this gun loads, and then realize that you can't get the recoil that low, so like didn't really use it very much. And then in the ammo event, they're like, oh, I'm out of 85501 and 905. What have I got left? Oh, I've got CBJ. I'll use that. And I died to it a fair number of times.
I was gonna say that'd be a good map to use it on because it's so close quarters that you can mitigate a lot of the recoil issues.
Exactly. Like same fire rate as the M4. The lack of modding doesn't matter as much. You can build it ergo centric a bit more so and get away with it on factory because you're like point firing with a laser a lot more than you are on other maps. The sight lines just aren't very long, so it performs really well. So that actually was also good. But it was cool. It was cool. I died one time to a stomach one tap with the KS. So, like that was a surprise.
KS shotgun. Yeah,
Strap 25 as well. Strap 25 straight to the stomach, like one tap me. I didn't actually think for some reason I didn't think that was even possible anymore. But I added up the damage and I was just like, oh no, like that definitely does kill you.
Wait, needs all 8 to hit, or is it just 7 out of 8?
I can't even remember at this point, to be honest. You need a lot of them to hit, but the guy was like, he literally had it like in my stomach.
Yeah.
Strap 25 is 80. Sorry, it's 78 damage.
78.
So,
And there's 8 pellets, right?
and there's 8 pellets, yeah.
And you have 80 thorax, right? Or 80
85.
stomach.
Stomach is a bit low.
Oh, it's 70.
Yeah.
It's 70, I think.
So, I mean, even just the base damage is like
Yeah.
600. No, sorry, not 600. Base damage is 624. So, and the stomach does like, now it does a 5% extra. Because, it used to be the 150 multiplier, but now it's only
Right.
105. It
Wait,
used to be
really?
150. Yeah. Because when they changed it, they changed all of it. So arms take away 51% of your damage now. The legs take away 30%, and your stomach, and the stomach multiplies damage by an extra 5%.
I did not know that. I thought it was still 1.5. That's crazy.
No.
That's crazy.
They changed all of them. They changed the legs and the arms and the stomach.
Dude, flesh is so bad right now.
Flesh is pretty rough. Yeah, and it's kind of it's amplified all of the issues with the low damage bullets and across the board. Especially if you don't hit, like, it's made it really brutal.
Good, fuck flechettes, but also flesh damage is really bad.
Yeah,
dude, that's crazy. That's like, that's a pretty significant decrease. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot going from 150 to 105.
It matters. I think the stomach change is actually fine. So where I am on the flesh, like, given we're talking about it, where I am on the flesh round stuff, I think the arms thing is fine. Right? I think that's okay, because the arms are like transparent to shots above 20 pen when they're blacked out anyway. So if you shoot their arms out, the bullets can go through and hit the thorax anyway. So it's not like you're relying on like hitting the arm like 20 more times for them to die if you're using like high pen stuff. So that doesn't matter so much. The stomach, I think it just caused like it just caused weird interactions with certain things like shotguns where you just instantly die to one shot, which I know should be like, that is kind of the downside to wearing thorax only armor, but it's made thorax only armor like a lot better, because you don't just like, as soon as your stomach's blacked, you don't just like suddenly get like damage amped and die out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, just it was annoying for sure.
Yeah. And but the legs one, I think the legs is too much, because when you're shooting legs, you're not shooting anything else. I think they could have kept the legs at just 1-to-1, and it would have been okay. I think they could just put the damage mod, like, change it so that, because now it's some weird number because they multiplied everything. So now it's like 0.49 on the arms, and like 105 on the thing, and then 70 on the legs. Just like put the arms to 50, the stomach to 1, and the legs to 1. Like, that's just so much easier, and it just does the same thing. Like, you keep leg meta the way it was. Like, leg meta wasn't even like, people weren't even using it that much before, right? It's like one of the only ways that newer players have. We're gonna have to see with the new armor system, because this helps with the new armor system to stop people just getting shredded as well. Like, any decreases to damage is going to help. It's like the offset for increasing hitbox health, right? It's like a sort of similar thing. Your effective HP goes up if the damage multiplier goes down. If you know what I mean? Because your EHP, if you get shot only in the arm, is like double, basically. Yeah. You have PMC. Like, if they could only see your left arm and nothing else, your effective HP is like 800 or something like that. Yeah, they have to deal like 800 damage to your arm, and the legs, your EHP is like 600 or something.
I don't know. I in general, I dislike how, like, typically, like, especially like, I'll just call it an example. You'll have like hit zones, and those hit zones have multipliers, and it pretty much follows a trend of like, legs are bad, chest/thorax is good, arms are okay, head is optimal, right? So you're like naturally incentivized to aim upper body, whereas like, the way Tarkov set up, it's like you're incentivized to aim head or like leg if you have this ammo, or like it's just I don't know. I just don't like it. It's bothers me, when I hear like having leg having a 1 multiplier and arms having a 0.6, it just feels wrong to me, heresy.
Yeah, well, it was, because it used to be
it's really 0.9.
It was 70.
I don't know.
1-to-1 on the legs, and then 150, like 1.5 on the stomach, I think. Yeah, because it was 70. The thing is, they multiplied everything by 0.7, and before it was 7.7 on the arms. You did 0.7 times 0.7, and that takes you to 0.49. So that's how we've ended up here.
Yeah.
And the stomach was 1.5 times 0.7, and that takes you to 105. Because I remember we had these conversations right when it first came through about like, is it just going to be a flat negative, or is it going to be a multiplier, or whatever? Like, it didn't matter for the legs because the legs was 1 anyway. So the legs was always going to be 70, no matter whether it was minus 0.3 or times 0.7. That was going to get to the same thing. But the arms was either going to be 0.4, no, yeah, 0.4 or 0.49, and the stomach was either going to be 1.2 or 1.05, depending on how they did it. And they did it as a multiplier, but
Right.
Anyway, whatever. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a good event. Ammo's back now, so you can go back and buy normal stuff, and everyone's got in-game bullets. So this is really the run up towards the end of the wipe. We know it's going to be in December. We know that the arena's coming soon. Everyone's got access to anyone who's done the quest, 50 PMCs. The quest is still there as well, by the way. So if you didn't complete it during the Ammo event, doesn't matter. It's still there. So all you got to do. I know for some people it's hard. All you got to do is get 50 PMC kills between now and the end of the wipe, and then you can buy M993 and other stupid bullets. If you needed M61, you haven't been able to buy it, we'll try out 7M40. Actually, just one last thing that I talked about on the stream, which I found quite interesting about 7M40, is the way, it's basically the only round, and I haven't talked about it for a while because they nerfed all the subsonic bullets, right? And so and again, this is going to be a moot point when the recoil system changes because it's all going to be different. But right now, you have, as we always talk about, you have the lift up, and then it comes back down again to about the halfway point, right? It goes from 0 to 100 and then to 50. And that's just the way the recoil system works. It fires up to the top of the apex, and then comes back down halfway. Well, what's funny about 7M40, and I showed this on stream, 7M40 obviously does the same thing, but just less, because it's got minus 20 recoil. Is it 20%? Is it a flat number? Yeah, we've been around this roller coaster before. It's not either. It's not really. It's a combination of the two. Yeah, it's a combination of the two. It's broadly a percentage, but once you get closer to 0, something funny happens, and it stops becoming it becomes more like, anyway, it's complicated.
Okay,
let's just ignore that.
No, I have to ask, what's the order of operations here? There's got to be some order to the madness, right? What happens first? The recoil calculation?
I never figured it out properly, right? Because I don't think it's really solvable in the way that it's done now. And it was the changes in 12.12 with the flat 21 recoil being added to everything that I think messed everything up. The best model that I could find for it was it's a percentage recoil modifier, but after you re-add the 20 back. So if an M4 is 50, you add 21 to take it to 71. Then you do the multiplier for the recoil, and then you take 21 back off. That was the best model that I found for it, but it doesn't completely work when you get to really, really low levels of recoil. Like if you take the Meta AKM with the night scope on it, and then you put US in it, it doesn't work for that, because you end up below 0, and that clearly doesn't happen in the game. There's diminishing returns once you get to the bottom end. But for the rest of the damage model system, the recoil modeling system, that seems to be broadly okay. Ultimately, it's a moot point, right? It does have some effect, but it's not either. It's not a flat number. It's not a percentage. It's some weird hybrid.
That doesn't make any sense. All right, whatever. It's Tarkov.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's Tarkov. So anyway, so 7M40 has this minus 20 mystery number on the recoil.
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes up and down, but it goes less than the others. So what you could do, the other good ammo in that category is BS, really. But BS has got a recoil increase of 10.
Yeah.
So BS goes quite high, actually, and then settles down to some sensible level. But what's interesting is if you put 4 or 5 rounds of 7M40 in, the peak of 7M40 is quite low because of this recoil decrease. So it jumps up. But then if you have the rest of the mag with BS, where BS settles is actually quite high because the recoil is so high. So what you end up with the peak of 7M40 and then the settle point of BS, which is actually very close to where the peak of 7M40 is. So the gun hardly moves back down. It doesn't move back down to the 50% mark because it expected to go up to, infinity with BS and then back down to halfway. But there's only a tiny little difference. So you actually, the overall recoil profile is better than either separately if you have 5 7M40 in it and then BS after, for one full spray at least. Obviously you have to set that up for each time, and if you then go through half a mag and then you have to spray, the recoil's going to be more, right? So you have to set it up every time you want to do it. But it's funny, if you have 3 mags all starting in that way, 7M40 and then BS afterwards, that's the optimal recoil profile because the gun jumps up less than all the others and then basically stays there. So it's really easy to control, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a quirk.
Fun's a word.
Yeah, it's a little. I like those kind of things. It's a little quirky.
Yeah, no,
you know,
I get it.
whatever. So I enjoyed demonstrating that. But yeah, it's all going to be different. Maybe we'll have to find some more of these quirks with the new system when it comes through. But yeah, that was the last thing I wanted to say about that. Just before we moved on, because it's a little interesting tidbit, and not everybody remembers about the subsonic stuff from before, because Subsonic SX and SB193 are now Terabad bullets and kind of suck, which is a bit sad to me. Don't know why do they do that to my boys?
Agreed.
You know, it's not like when people go, "Oh, I put US ammo in the top of my 7.62 AK," and I'm just like, "Yeah, you've decreased the recoil, but like at the expense of you actually being able to kill anyone." And that's kind of how I feel about the other two now, which is a shame, because you could do these like funny things where you've got like the top rounds and blah blah, but it only really works with 7 and 40 now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a shame you can't. Like, I've done that before. Just brought a full mag of US ammo in my RD on the shoreline, and like, you think, oh, I'm gonna be in the resort. I'm gonna get the bunch of extra recoil, but like, it just does not. It's not enough to make up for the fact that you're like going down 2 tiers of armor penetration. Like, oh, you think, oh, I'll just hit him in the head. I'm a god gamer. I mean, you are a god gamer, but it's Tarkov, so obviously that's not my fault.
Yeah, so that's basically that. All of your ones on your side seem to have disappeared, by the way.
What the heck?
I don't know what happened.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. That's funny.
So, I mean, shall I just go into the next one now, I guess? Because it sort of feels on topic, and then we can switch back to your side. Talking about recoil and the new system and everything else, and then BSG's tests and whatnot. BSG announced that they are testing the new recoil system on ETS, like we had hoped that they would when they demonstrated their first recoil system and then showed it for the second time on the recent Tarkov TV. The players who are inside the ETS program are getting to observe and play with the new recoil system and provide feedback in the way that ETS allows, which is basically the same system as the bug report system, effectively. And there's some like ETS discussion boards as well.
Okay.
So everybody who has ETS, I implore you to go and check it out, test it, give your feedback. I don't really have any idea of how BSG will filter through the various pieces of feedback. And this sort of brings up the usual conversation that's been doing the rounds on Twitter again for like the nth time, which is that ETS is behind what they call NDA. But I mean, if you talk about anything that happens inside or show anything from it, like screenshots or whatever, then you get booted out the program. So it's not really like, you've not signed a contract or anything really, right? But you just get kicked out if you showcase it. And yeah, this has brought up the usual conversation of like, why is it so secret? Like, don't we want everyone to see it? Like, I don't mind. I almost don't mind like ETS being locked off in some ways, right? That you have to apply, but then everyone can see it. It'd be like when you have a new game that releases, but it's like earlier, like closed beta, and then you can stream it and show people, but it's like limited access. Like that would be better. People would still be able to like see stuff and like come to conclusions and think about it and like discuss or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this conversation's come back around again. It's just, I do think it's unnecessary that for things like the the recoil system rework, that needs to be like hidden behind ETS, and that the rest of the player base like can't see it. What are your thoughts?
Oh, look, someone actually has broke their NDA. Allegedly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They said this is a bunch of day. The recoil for most weapons is way too low, especially the mid-high tier weapons. They are really, really OP now. You can full auto beam insanely easily. Little bro, rip your ETS. What I think about it, I think it's weird. I was just thinking about Rust. So I played Rust a little bit recently, and they have what's called a staging branch. Let's see if I can maybe search for it. Staging. Right. And it's essentially like an early build of the upcoming update.
It's just
And
like a dev branch kind of thing, like a
yeah,
test branch.
exactly. Yeah. And then, I mean, anyone can install it and play it and whatnot. There's, communities and people, creators alike, that are heavily invested into it. Like, there's this one guy called Shadowfrax, who's like a YouTube content creator, and he covers a lot of, basically, he's kind of like the news, at least to my knowledge, is like the news guy. Like, he covers all the stuff on the staging branch, so you kind of know what's coming, and then like once they actually announce something, then he'll cover that, and he covers all the stuff that the devs are posting, because they got like a, not a Slack, but what's it called, a some like website where you can like post your updates on your project or whatever for the public to see. But anyways, yeah, I just don't know why they don't have something like this. I mean, like why is it so? I don't know. I cannot begin to understand. I mean, don't get me wrong. Face Punch is they got a lot more experience. They've been in the studio for like a company for a lot longer time, like 10 years plus. I think definitely at least 10 years, maybe 11. But I don't know, man. It's BSG. They do things differently. That's a part of the charm, I guess. You gotta accept.
Yeah, it just feels to me that they're either gonna have to face the music like when it comes out, or at some point, like they
Right.
seem to be kind of protecting their own, like not everybody complaining or whatever about it, but like this is
Yeah.
the internet we're talking about. People are going to complain regardless of what you do. So you'd probably like rather. It's like Nikita's talked before about going on Reddit, and the reason why he went on there when he said it's a steaming pile of turd, but you have to sift through and find the truth. Usually there's a grain of truth in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing, feeling the community's feedback. I personally think is a lot easier. Like let's put it this way, right? As a creator, and they do lean very heavily on creators for feedback and input and whatnot, right? As a creator, I find it harder to read the community's a vibe and like integrate that within my, because people come up with stuff, right, that I then go, oh yeah, that's a good point, or like go and check out something different, or disagree with people but think, oh actually, but maybe this, you're right, maybe you're wrong on this, but like you're right actually because of something else, as a bouncing board. And I feel that anything like this is missing that process a bit.
Right.
I feel like it's harder for me to come to an informed decision because, and maybe this is just me, right? But I like to take in lots of different opinions, and
But who can you bounce it off of, right?
Yeah, and I
is
have
what
like,
you're saying.
and like you can, there are ways, but like I have like my view. I tried the stuff myself, and I have my view, and then I read about what everybody else says, and like does stuff differ to my own view or whatever, and then I'm like, okay, well, why do they think that? That's sort of the way it should be approached, I think. But yeah, I just find that process a lot harder. Like, the usual process for me is that like I'll post a video about whatever it is, and then I'll like get 150 comments of different people being like, yes, I agree, no, I don't agree because of this or that or the other, and I'm just like, oh, that's a good point, or like, oh, have you thought about this? And I'm just like, no, I didn't necessarily think about that. It's like I'm one person, I can't think about everything, and the collation of that feedback is hard, especially when it's just like every individual is just an individual and it's just en masse, just a big aggregation. Whereas like if you're for me at least, like the feedback that I tend to give on stuff in general is like an aggregation of my thoughts plus everybody that's input into it. Like there isn't anything specific from anyone usually, unless it's like a really standout idea, but it's usually just like the aggregation of like the 200 comments and 5,000 chat messages I've read about the topic, and you kind of start to get an idea of like how many people like it, how many people don't, which side of the spectrum they're on. Like, do the Chads like it and the Rats hate it? Do the Rats hate it and the medium guys love it, but the Chads think it's like the best thing ever? Like it's like it's nuanced, right? The community is nuanced, full of different types of players, and I find that much harder to read with things like this, which makes it complicated. Yeah, that's just my thoughts about it.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say that. It kind of feels like, it looks like to me like a lot of the ETSers, at least the ones that are vocal about it, are like creators, which obviously feeds into itself. But like as you said, like in some ways, creators are kind of like super disincentivized to play it because A, they can't make any content out of it. B, they've like their job is making Tarkov content, so like you spend 8 hours a day engaging with Tarkov. Like is the last thing, like, are you really gonna at the end of your day Like, okay, now I want to go and do another job that I'm not getting paid for, playing the video game that I was, playing all day, that I was getting paid for. You know what I mean? It's I just don't know how, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call, right? Like, I understand, like, it is tough. When you're running it as a business, you obviously are doing it because you like it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have started doing it in the first place. But, like, it's not just play for fun. You have to optimize stuff to try and make money as well, right? It's like a balancing act between the two. And, I sacrificed, like, probably a whole morning messing around with stuff that's of literally no benefit to me or the channel. Messing around with things.
If you enjoy
because I'm
it,
really
then
interested, right? And I really enjoy
Yeah.
it. But I'm like, the back of my mind, I'm just like, man, I really should be doing something more productive here. But how could I not? Like I'm an enthusiast. Like if I didn't do that, then I should probably just quit and not do this anymore. If I'm like not interested in doing, I don't know. There's shades of grey with all this stuff. But I feel like if I'm just like not enthused to go and try it, why the hell am I even doing this? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I went and did like hours for free and wrote a bunch of stuff and whatever. But like, I still feel that the feedback process is a bit too like scattered. It's much harder to, and I said this on the stream, like as much as I'm an enthusiast for like that stuff and like trying it out, like the process of turning feedback into like easily consumable, valuable to watch content that's the hard part. And that's the bit that I'm not going to do. Like, I'm not going to make a full-length, regular GigaBeef channel video that can only be unlisted and sent to the BSG devs. I'm not going to do that, obviously. So my feed, because that's not the bit that I find like as much fun as playing with the system.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not going to get rewarded for it either. So it's, you know what I mean? Like,
you get the
that's
game
where I
you
draw the
wanted.
line. Well, it's like,
I'm kidding.
Maybe, but it's like, it's the trickle of feedback amongst all the other torrents of things from everybody else. Yeah,
it's not a very good system, and that's kind of like my larger point, I guess, is like, I don't think your average player is going to give a shit about giving ETS feedback, probably even playing ETS, like maybe just like as a one-off just to see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, like in some ways you kind of like self-select the people that are likely to give the most feedback by just having the channels open. You know what I mean? Because like you're like myself, you're degenerates that their life is a video game. They're gonna be like obsessed about it, and they're gonna like go the extra mile for stuff. Because I just wonder, it just seems weird that I don't know what the criteria is, but like I saw someone in here, what was his name? Relo, like I have a similar, like I see these, they're funny, it's like waiting for my 2-year-old advocate, but I don't know what the criteria is. Maybe the criteria is like account lifetime, how many reports or tickets you send in, your status, I have no idea maybe it's arbitrary. Maybe you just have to be lucky. Maybe it's the first batch or whatever. I have no idea, but
I genuinely think the process is quite chaotic. And I think that if you have been playing the game for a while and your account is quite old and you play a lot and you applied for ETS, you haven't heard back. I genuinely think if you really want to get into the program and play around with stuff, honestly, just send like Apples or a DM on Discord or whatever. Like, they will probably be able to help. It's the application's probably gone into a black hole. Knowing BSG, it's probably just lost somewhere in the ether. Like, maybe there's a legitimate reason, but like it doesn't hurt to send. I mean, I'm sorry, Apple and all, but like send the community manager a DM, right? If you're like serious about it, then they might be able to look into it and see. I know that I think I remember in the past some people who really should have been in it and like couldn't get in, and then the community manager just like, just DM me and I'll fix it. It's like, I think sometimes it just gets like lost. I don't know how it would be like when you press the button. Who knows what happens, right? Who knows what happens? Goes straight into, it comes out of Nikita's like printer and he just puts them straight in the bin.
It's a fax machine.
It's a fax machine straight to Nikita's office. Yeah, there's the bin underneath, the waste paper basket. It's automated, just straight in. No, I don't know, man. But like, it can't hurt, right?
Yeah,
it can't hurt. So yeah, if you're really serious about it, then do that. But yeah, I'd love to be able to talk about the stuff more openly for the same reasons why we talk about anything on this cast, which is to flesh out things. Like, oftentimes, like some of the videos that I make that are more like structural about the game often start here on this podcast, right? Because they take like an hour and 20 minutes to thrash something out, to go back and forth. What about this? No, that's a bad idea because of that. Oh, okay. And you slowly like work through something and like make your own mind up about something by like bouncing it off someone else. And then it turns into some like real feedback that the devs can use properly, rather than just like an aggregated sort of stream of consciousness from 1,500 people. I have no idea how many people are in ETS even, but it just seems like it's just weird. It's just weird. But yeah, obviously as creators we're biased, right? Because we want to be able to showcase that stuff, and then have it as part of the content. So I don't know. It's a funny old one. I do hope they change their mind though. I do think it would be better, because yeah, people are going to grumble. Like, are people going to grumble? Like, I'd rather people grumble while it's changeable.
Yeah, of course. Like, while
Because-
there's actually like,
Yeah,
they create a space for feedback for like, and the idea is like, we're going to listen to it, we're going to adjust it, but it's sectioned off to a select group. Just like, and then it's going to release, and then it's going to be like, oh no, we missed this thing, or like, inertia.
and then it's set in
for
stone, though,
example.
right? Exactly, right. And it's
Yeah,
like
it's
BSG are like that, where they release it and then they go, well, now we're going to wait like 6 months
Yeah,
before we change
exactly.
anything. And it's like, oh,
and
that's
then
like the most-
sometimes they don't even get it right, and that's after that 6 months
Yeah.
period.
And that's the most frustrating thing. Like, if they change stuff relatively quickly, even after 1.0 of that feature, then fair enough. But because they don't, it's just like,
Right.
let's get it right before you send it out.
I mean, not to be
I don't know.
perfect, but I do feel, yeah, like I always use inertia. Like, I don't know how the boat swaying made it past ETS, but my understanding, rumors were that it was much worse than that previously. So
Yeah, and thank God that we only had that for one wipe, and then they changed
Yeah.
it, right? And now it's like sensible.
it's okay.
Unless maybe they did I don't know, they could have been the classic, your head hurts, well, stub your toe kind of thing, and then you'll forget about your head. They made it really bad for one wipe, and then they're like, oh, we'll bring it back to where we actually wanted it to be. But like, everyone would have complained otherwise. It's like, oh, BSG have made it so much better, because they're like, they made it terrible, and then they brought it back. Who knows?
That's too big brain.
It probably is, yeah. I give them too much credit. So yeah, I mean, everyone will see it when the wipe hits.
I mean, at the
suppose.
very least, you can have content ready when it comes out. You'll have something of an idea.
Maybe, like, I guess yeah, sort of, but like, we don't know if they're going to change it based on the
Yeah.
feedback or like.
That's true. Who knows, man? We'll have to see.
Exactly.
But I mean, what were your thoughts? What'd you think when you played it? Don't mind me. I'm just gonna type some notes here while you.
I keep getting asked about like, we had the awkward moment as well with like chat yesterday. I was just like, I don't want to get myself banned out of DTS. Please stop it. Please stop asking me. I was like, oh no. People are like, oh, that sounds mixed. Oh, that doesn't sound good. I was like, stop reading into it. Leave me alone.
Yeah, earlier Giga was talking just like how we were talking about like topics, and oh yeah, we should talk about the ETS drama, and he was like, oh yeah, the ETS drama is so bad. I'm like, oh, so the recoil is bad? That's what you're saying? I'm writing it down. This just in, leaking news.
Well, at least they're doing a thing. They're trying it. They're doing something.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll be better than it is now when it comes out. Should we get on to your topic? Because we were going to do this last week about balancing, but then we didn't get to it. I don't think.
So I've been playing a lot of BattleBit recently. I revisited BattleBit, and since then they've done updates to it, which previously, I mean, when I was playing it, it felt like it's like, God, when's the update coming? Because back then it was like plagued by the trope was basically medic and vector. It was just like so busted. I mean, it was just very unfortunate because there's a lot of guns, a lot of attachments, and even the attachments were pretty, like, there was like one or two attachments you would see, like grips and muzzle devices included.
So was it like the classic situation where like some things were just straight up better than other things?
Yeah, there was a bit of that
situation.
Yeah, I really dislike that, but it's an indie studio. It's like literally 3 developers. So like, I'm not like hyper critical, but it is unfortunate. And I think too, what's interesting is, since the hype train of BattleBit's passed, the amount of players has like dropped significantly, and part of me wonders how much that is a product of just the game being really stale, like for months, because it was like at least, it felt like 2 months there. I was playing BattleBit, and it was just like the same, there was like it just felt like there was just some really obvious fixes, like namely just making some grips not a direct upgrade to others, because like the progression system's very COD like, it's like you reach this level, but instead it's like, instead of a level progression, it's like, well, there was a level progression, but like specifically leveling up guns and like attachments, you unlocked had to do kills. So like you would get 100 kills and you get this grip, and then 120 you would get this grip, and like it was just like the hierarchy too was like so messed up. It didn't even like really make sense, because early on you would get like one of the best grips in the game, and all the other unlocks were just like completely, never like downgrades. It was just like, it was really out of whack. But most likely the game losing its player base is probably just due to the initial like marketing and hype, because like Clean was like pretty hyped on the game. I remember him talking about it prior, and I was just like no interest. And then Twitch Rivals came along, and the game was like launching. It was like cheap, $15. Tarkov was kind of boring at the time, so I was like, all right, fine, whatever, I'll try it. And I really liked it. It was a good game. But
yeah, there were like tons of people from Tarkov who went over, like every game, because I was playing with my buddies at the time when it launched, and like every single game there were people who like recognized me in game, because like you meet tons of people, and everyone's display name is like really visible as well, because everyone was, as you said, everyone was playing medic, and so you were like healing people constantly, like healing teammates around you and blah blah. So like it's be like, oh, he being healed by GigaBeef, whatever. And because there's like 127 people per side in the big map, you just run into a lot of people. So like tons of people would be recognizing me all over the place, which my friends found really funny, because they're not actually like experienced that before, which I don't really. Yeah, because again, it's on Tarkov, like nobody sees each other's names or anything, so it's kind of an unusual experience. But I think it's probably just partly that. Like, yeah, I haven't played it for a bit, just been playing other stuff. It's BattleBit's good, and I'll definitely play it again, I'm sure. But it's not something that I'm going to play like 24/7. Like Steam chart says it had like 85, 82,000, something like that in the first like month afterwards. Then that dropped to like 45, and then by the time we got to August this year, it was like 15k, and it's sort of been gradually decreasing, 15, 10, and then it was a minimum of like 8,000 recently. But then it's hopped back up to about 18 after the new patch. But that's like, I wouldn't say that's necessarily unhealthy. It's kind of, there's a lot of games these days. It makes it quite hard, right? Every game wants to pull in a bunch of people, and people split their time amongst a few different games. So just difficult to keep those like, really, unless you're reintroducing loads of new content, which like I don't think they have really, right? Nothing fundamentally changed since launch, really. Like I know I know it has. I know it's been rebalanced and whatnot, but nothing crazy has happened.
Yeah, then that's kind of the thing with like games nowadays, is like the gaming space has changed so much. Like previously, a game like this, I feel like it would. This is kind of what we used to play essentially. It's like game would launch, like Battlefield would launch. You would have the servers, people would play it. You just play it. There'd be like maybe a DLC or two that would come out. You would buy. Back then they were called like expansion packs or whatever. Have like maps, maybe some new, guns or content or whatever, but that was it. And you just played that for like a year until the next AAA title came out, and like since then the game space changes so much where it's like they are constantly pumping out so much content, but also they're like creating systems to keep you playing the game. It's like, oh, if you play another 24 hours, you get a bonus XP boost to grind to the next skin to unlock, which will, if you craft 3 skins, you can get the legendary golden skin of the ancient lords of Zoda. You know what I mean? It's just like they got all these crazy systems now that just like incentivize you to keep playing, and then they have like a factory of content that they're pumping out as well. Like Call of Duty, I saw like there's some crazy Call of Duty skins like Nicki Minaj and Snoop Dogg. I'm just like, dude, what the hell is
I see it on Twitter, people moaning.
I'm just like, dude, I don't know what's like. I think I made a comment. It was like, if I didn't know any better, I would say this was like the modding community putting stuff in because it just looks so bizarro.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, back on my
So have they
train of
fixed
thought
it
here. Have they fixed it?
in
It's
Battle Bit? Have
gotten.
they fixed the progression of the attachments?
Oh yeah, I mean the balance has gotten a lot better for sure. Because like one of the issues I found was like just like the only class that felt good, quote unquote, was medic because you had sustain. You could heal yourself, which I know is like
Groundbreaking.
yeah.
No.
Well, well, I mean, it's just kind of like annoying because you think of medic, you think of support class. You know what I mean? But instead, it's like I'm gonna heal myself. Back away, peasants. This med kit's for me. It's so funny because I used to play a game back in the day called Enemy Territory Castle Wolfenstein, and I had like the same issue. There was like classes, and medic was one, and like medics basically just healed themselves, and it was like basically became the soldier class. The class initially that was intended to be like the class that's engaging in combat the most. But instead, it's replaced by the medic because the medic can sustain themselves. They also like there's like a mini RPG system. So like as you like leveled up on the server / match, you would get more perks. And like one of their perks was like you're better at health, so you get more HP. So they would just have like even more HP than it was so busted. Anyways, but since then they've changed it a lot. Where now you can bandage and heal, whereas previously you could only bandage to stop a bleed, and the only way to heal was via the med pack, which he could heal you, or you could throw one out, but ain't no one got time for that. I'm moving and shooting, I'm jumping around. So that was a pretty big change because now it's like it doesn't feel bad playing some of these other classes, like assault, for example, which was like kind of the ideal, class to be like shooting, like whereas medic is like I can see it more as like a support role. Like there's a support class which hands out ammo, resupplies ammo, and they have like access to really heavy gear and LMGs and stuff, which is kind of cool. But yeah, just the class balance felt really heavily skewed to medic SMG, and they've done a lot to address that. On the class part, like now in the most recent update, because it's free currently. I think for this weekend, so by the time this will come out, it will not be free. Maybe on Monday, I'm not positive. But now it's like you can bandage as fast as the medic can, like self bandage, but the medic can like bandage teammates faster, essentially. Right. So now it feels like really good to not be playing medic. Like I've been playing a lot of assaults because you get these innate perks where you aim and reload like 20% faster.
That's cool.
Yeah,
was that in the game originally, or was that new?
It was. The aim only applies to red dot, like one-time scopes, apparently, but it was, but like you know what I mean? It's enough, just like right? Yeah, 20%,
not healing versus
right. Yeah, it's like you can theoretically live forever, or you could aim 20%. Yeah, it's really skewed. But now that they've addressed it, it feels so much more balanced because what's interesting is like the assault, you get 6 bandages. So like technically you have like, and I think it's like 50 HP maybe or something. Like it's not insignificant. So theoretically you could heal yourself 6 times. And but what you could do is you can get a small ammo case, throw that out, and resupply your bandages. So like you can almost feel as if you're playing how a medic would play, but now you're playing an assault class, which fits more the role. And like maybe on medic, now it might make more sense to be incentivized to be more supporty, which I quite like. Like they've also changed because the classes had access to certain gun categories. Like medic was like SMG and assault rifles, whereas initially assault class only had access to like assault rifles, I think.
Just like what?
Yeah, which for the kind of didn't really make sense. Like, but now it's even weirder because now they have battle rifles, and some classes also can't get SMGs. like medic can't get the MP7, but they can get some other SMGs. Like there's
Okay.
yeah, they made it a little bit more nuanced, but I don't really like where it's at because it's like it's like inconsistent. Like I have to check each class to verify what specific weapons in their brackets they can and can't have. Previously, it was a lot more simpler. It was like, oh, medic can have SMG, AR, assault can have assault rifles. Engineer can have PDWs and whatever. But now it's a little bit more nuanced. But they've added battle rifles as a new category, and now medics can have battle rifles. Like I'm kind of the opinion that medics should just have like the shittiest tier of
I
stuff.
think so.
You just kind of like force them more into the support role, but make them good at supporting. But anyways, the thing I wanted to really talk about was I just find it kind of hard to like do balancing in a way in like these like modern FPS games that's like makes it where it feels like I'll use an example of like Doom or like Overwatch. I didn't play a lot of Overwatch, sadly. Like I kind of wish I did now because I think it would have been right on my alley. But like Doom or Quake, like you have like these different weapons like rocket launcher, grenade launcher, the plasma beam thing, the shotgun, the minigun. They all kind of like serve different roles. Whereas like in a lot of these shooters, it's like you basically have like these archetypes like SMG, AR, sniper rifle, LMG, and like within those categories, they all feel very like they do kind of the exact same things, just like slight variations, which is like fine, but it's not super interesting. Like some of the guns, especially in the first when the game first launched, like the ACR was just like in BattleBit, it was just I think it was the ACR. It was just like a worse M4 essentially. Like it shot slower, did less damage. The one upside was like the mag attachment was like pretty good, but I don't know. It was just there's like things like that that's difficult, and like they've tried to make things more interesting in that regard. But I think it's really hard because as you add more guns, it's like the variance gets like smaller and smaller between each.
Of course, naturally, right?
So I don't know. I kind of like I think one interesting thought I was having is having a shooting game where, it's really wild, but like imagine something like, instead of thinking more like a shooting game, think of more of as like a game in relation to like drawing or like a pin. So like maybe one method of aiming or shooting or, FPSing we'll say is like, you had to like trace like different characters and then it would like fire the character and you had to like cycle between different traces to find the one that was like appropriate for the situation or so just like I say some bizarro thing. Another one was like the faster you move your mouse the more like damage it does or something, so you'd be like incentivized to like flick.
Trying to think about like unique mechanics for something different. Yeah,
right.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But like something to like diversify the way you engage with the FPS mechanics, because now it's like it feels very, it's still good, I would say, but it's like this gun you pull down a little bit more than this gun.
Yeah,
and like
or like there's the baked-in recoil profile that you have to learn. Like these things we've gone through all of these things, right? The first thing that comes to mind, like as you say that, is you talk about drawing, and the thing that sounds the best to me for that is like not really like a shooter per se. You can still be first person, but one of my favorite games from kind of a while back was a game called Magica. If anyone remembers Magica, it was an exceptional game and that was like you were a little wizard and you could play in a team of up to 4 people and you had 8 elements and you combined the elements together in up to 5. So you had like 5 like slots to combine them together, and you basically like there was no mana. It was just like how fast could you like cast different spells, because it was the different the way that you like coordinate the elements together.
Yeah.
And you could almost do something like that in first person, right? Because you'd have to like draw the spell or something and like put it together, and like maybe the more precise you did it, the more damage it would do or something. Like I can see that working in like a first person like Magic game. That kind of thing. That'd be kind of cool. You press a bunch of buttons, or you have to. I watched the Wheel of Time series on Amazon Prime recently, so that's what like it is come straight to the to the front of my mind, which is a good fantasy series, by the way. I read the books when I was a teenager, and I don't really remember anything in the plot, but I remember a lot about the world and the actual like how the world worked.
Mhm.
And so when I watched the series, like I was like watching it for the first time again, plot wise, because I didn't remember anything. But I kind of knew how the world functioned, which was quite a nice way to see it actually. But in that, like magic is kind of like done through weaves. And that again, that reminds me exactly like this. You know, you like draw in like the earth element and then like draw that with the fire bit, whatever, combine them together. I could see a system working, which would be really fun and really cool and like quite intricate in that way. That would actually be cool. And that would work in first person because Magic is the third person game. So you do all of the like spell stuff happens on the keyboard. It's like I think it's QWERASDF, I think, if I remember correctly, because there's 8 elements and you just like have to combine those in different patterns. And then you fire with the mouse, but you're like, you know, it looks like Diablo or whatever. You're like top down isometric kind of thing. And you like shoot your stuff. And some of them are like, you know, if you go like rock, you do like, if you just do rock, you get like a pebble that fires out really quickly. If you do like rock and fire that out, it's like a big like brick kind of thing. If you do like rock and just fill it with rock, all 5, then like a huge boulder comes out. Like, and you have to kind of charge it up as well. And then a huge boulder comes out. But then if you do like different combinations, like fire obviously just does like a gout of flame, water does just like wet stuff. So you can wet stuff first and then electrocute them afterwards. But then if you do like fire and water together, then it makes steam instead. And like, you know, it wets them and does like heat damage, but then you can electrocute them afterwards. There was like arcane, which allowed you to create like beams of whatever it was that you were doing. Like it was so cool. It was such like a cool system. It was unique, and I've not played anything quite like it. I played a lot of it. And then there were also within Magicka, there were also like combinations of elements that made actual like spells from a spell book that weren't necessarily part of the system, if that makes sense. It'd be like something very specific, and that would cast like haste. So you'd have to do like one of another, and they were unrelated, and they didn't really do anything.
Kind of like Invoker?
Yeah, it'd be a bit like, yeah, exactly. I mean, Magicka is like Invoker the game. It's like, it's so cool. Yeah, and some of them are shields. You do like earth and something else, and you get shields and whatever. And but there is no mana. It's one of the best parts about the game. There's no mana at all. So it's literally as fast as you could use the keyboard, you can cast those spells, and it's so good. Like it is so good. It's so much fun. I never really played PvP. I think that's you're watching the PvP mode. It came out later. I played it like right from the start, playing the campaign. But it was great. But yeah, I could see that working in your idea of like some FPS, you know, having to like draw the spell out somehow or like do some kind of thing to like create the whatever. That could be like really fun, especially if the movement was good. You know, you could be like bouncing around and like trying to hit people with stuff, and different spells would be like, some would be hit scan but do lower damage, some would have like a wind up time, or some would have like travel time or whatever.
Yeah,
that's where you get like big variety. That's where you get a lot of variety with these things. You know, playing Warhammer Darktide as well recently, and still playing that with my buddies at the moment, and yeah, that has got the same kind of thing, like faster fire rates, slower fire rates, different damages against different types of enemy. Some are projectiles, some things are hit scan because they've got like las guns in that. So those ones, you know, they instantly hit, but some you have to like lead a bit because they take a while to get to their target. There's like flamers and plasma gun, which is what I'm playing around with at the minute. Which is like that's actually super fun. I know we're going like wild. Well, actually, this isn't wildly off topic because we're talking about just general balancing in FPS. So the plasma gun in Darktide does like a ridiculous amount of damage. Usually, the way that it works in Darktide is the more damage you do, you typically speaking, well, I mean, the fire rate is slow, and secondly, usually the ammo is very limited. So the revolver and the plasma gun do the most damage, but they have like the fewest shots. The plasma gun does have ammo, but it also has heat as a resource. So the more you fire it, the higher the heat goes, and the gun starts going, it's just like charging up. And if you like get it up to like maximum heat, you have to basically make a choice between whether to vent it with the reload, which takes ages, or you have to click the switch and like vent and take physical damage on your player.
Oh, that's neat.
Which is really cool.
Yeah,
because the thing's like super hot, but it's crazy. The gun's like is great, and I love Darktide because the experience of, and this is what I love about all Warhammer games that are well done, and I love Space Marine, and I think there's a new Space Marine coming too, which is a single player like third person thing. When they're done right, the games are like, they're so pleasing to play aesthetically, and Darktide is very pleasing. Like the guns feel insane. You know, they feel insane. Yeah, so the church's got the picture of the guy venting the plasma gun, I think, and taking damage, which is cool. Like that's the way that they balanced it in that game. Like the combination of like how big a mag is, how much ammo you actually can carry, like and then these special mechanics like heat. which I think is fun. That's why I like the plasma gun so much, because it's another one of those, like, it's amazing, but it's like the classic. It's the classic video game balancing thing. It's like, oh, you can have, do you want crazy damage? Okay, well, you have to take this downside. Now you've either got like and you've got a choice that you can choose in the moment of, I either do the if I'm not imminently in danger, I could just choose the big reload. Or if I'm like, I really, really, really need it right now, I can sacrifice some of my HP to basically like vent the gun and shoot more. But if you choose that choice too many times, then you're gonna end up getting yourself killed. So it's like, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good balancing. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and they did a big balance patch. I think I said before, that's why we're playing it again. I actually never played it on the first pass, but apparently the balancing wasn't that good. But it feels pretty good now. Like, I'm not a meta gamer in Dark Tide particularly, but we're getting up to the top levels. Like, we've started trying to play some of the hardest missions relatively recently, and we're getting there. We're getting there. We're dying quite a lot on them, but we're like up into the end game kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, yeah, like Tarkov has some of those things that need changes. We've talked before about MOE plus like versus the CTR, which is like only found in raid, and stuff that you can buff the traders, and all of these games need that kind of like balance pass on them. Like it needs to, if it's scarce or rare, then it needs to be better than the stuff that you could just buy straight up for money. If money's not necessarily that hard a resource, it's the classic kind of thing. I guess BattleBit's a bit different, because like that needs to be like balanced irrespective of economy, because there is no economy in BattleBit. You could just choose whatever you want.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, I think there's a little bit of balance around, new accounts versus leveled
I guess
accounts.
Progression, yeah.
A little bit. I don't think they cared that. They've been talked about a little bit, but yeah.
Like, I guess the thing is there, it's like you do want to get things that are better, but you want more like choices, I suppose.
Yeah, like
you go up the levels.
I think they specifically call out they don't want like, the last level 1000 gun to be the best gun, but they also don't want the level 1 gun to be the best gun either. They kind of just want something more choices. I think is probably more accurate, which I like.
Yeah,
it's hard because I feel that with something like this, or even like Quake, the content, the source material is a lot more open to adjustments. Like, it's not as constrained, because like any like FPS, like I would say like the majority of like your FPSs are going to draw from like real life. Like if they're going to have a P90 in there, I just feel like I'm almost guaranteed that's going to have 50 bullets in there. And it also shoots a like caliber that's like in between a pistol and a rifle. It's like a PDW. It's like good for pinning certain armor. So like it's going to be good. Like, sure, there's leeway on these things, but like the 50 rounds in the mag is like, I don't see a lot of leeway in that in many FPS games. So like, what I mean? It just feels like there's some like hard things that like you can't, like, that's the sacredity of the battle. You can't touch that. That's, what I mean? It's like you don't have as much room to play. Because I like, when I mentioned Quake, like the thing I really like about it was just like, and I'm not by any means let's do like Quake Arena, so it's a little bit more
modern.
Updated. Yeah, a little bit more modern. I played Quake a little bit back in the day, but not anything recently. But my understanding is like there's a lot of different weapons here that just like have different roles, like the plasma gun. I don't even think this is from, I want the one, maybe it's called Quake Online.
I know what you mean though, right? It's like, there's like the shotgun and the rifle, the whatever it is. Like you've got like the one gun that does the role. Like, you're right that as you add like more weapons, especially for realistic games, it's like, how many different ways, like how different can the SCAR-L be from the M4 and the HK416 and the MDR and the G36? Like, how different can they be? Like, how could you represent that within the game? Like, they're different IRL, sure, like, but that's because you're actually holding the damn thing. Like, how could you represent that with the mouse and keyboard and the feedback that you get through the screen? Like, you're so much more limited there.
Right, and even like, how you interact with the actual the FPS, like, the footage I'm showing on the screen is Quake Champions, is the modern version of it. And he's like running around the map. He's like pre-firing the rocket launcher. I guess he's like I mean, there's a lot to Quake, but that has like its own role. Like he's rocket jumping with it, and then now he sees the player. He's like switching to the double barrel shotgun. He uses the shotgun. There's like some like sniper thing. There's some laser beam. Like the laser. It's just weird because like the laser's good for tracking, but the rocket launcher is obviously projectile and it's explosive. It's AOE. There's just like different strategies.
You can get from around corners, whatever. And the most important thing, right, that you're seeing from this, which I guess I'd sort of forgotten until now, is that like you could carry all the guns at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Whereas like most games these days, it's like 2 at most, maybe a sidearm. That's like pretty much how most games go.
Yeah, that's true. But even like, I guess another one I was thinking of was like Overwatch. Like I kind of missed out on it.
I played a decent amount of Overwatch.
Did you?
1. Yeah, relatively decent. Yeah, I was never like I played it casually. I was never a pro of Overwatch 1, but it was good fun.
I didn't get into it because I like at the time I was like still into Dota, and then B, it was just like I just felt like I was doing something wrong paying for a game that was, like in my mind should have been free to play. You know what I mean? Because like they were gonna absolutely monetize the crap out of it. Like microtransactions and stuff. Like, so I don't know. I just didn't feel like it. I should pay for this. But this game in particular, you got like, I mean, this is the hero shooter genre, right? But you got the different classes that like have these different strategies based on like, there's the one guy that like, what's his, I don't know his name, but like he looks like a monk type of alien guy, but he like cast different balls of like different orbs that and then shoot projectiles. Oh, maybe is it Genji? No, that's the samurai.
No, he's the bowman. He's called Zenith. What's he called? Zenny something?
Zenyatta?
Zenyatta,
yeah. This is him. Yeah. It's just like these different like strategies and play styles. Like there's like strategy, and there's also like that strategy is like reflected upon like how you engage with the said mechanics, whereas in a lot of these games that are pretty like bare bones shooting, it's just like Tarkov, for example, it's like I guess the FPS mechanics you engage in is like the leaning, the slow leaning, the different inertia systems, health systems, things like that. But like the actual aiming mechanics is like what I'm like hyper focused on. I don't know. It's just something, like I said, it was one of those thoughts like, oh, what would be some interesting ways you can engage with like, because that's really what I liked about FPS was like once I discovered the like pro scene and the the passion there for like just being good at aiming and stuff. Like I think it's kind of like have you ever seen Osug before? People play that game. Oh my god, I gotta show you it. It is like I don't even know what it is, but it's like this weird community. I say weird, but it's like music plays and there's this little cursor on your screen. You have to like trace and like drag, and it's like, oh, this is like super simple, but it's like supposed to be like I don't know if it's used for aim training, but it's like been repurposed for that, and people go absolutely nuts about this.
I've never seen this.
Yeah, it's wild. There's some funny memes. There's one where this guy like breaks his computer or whatever, his monitor, and he's like super obsessed about his OSU score. It's great, but yeah. Anyways, that's what I was thinking. Like, what if you had one where it was like something that's like you were like incentivized to like move your mouse rapidly, and like the trade-off there is like you would be less accurate. Like if you try to do micro adjustments, you would do like no damage, but like if you were flicking, you could like do a lot of damage.
Yeah, like it charges up if you do a flick or something.
Yeah, like something like that. Like just trying to think of like different ways you can engage with that stuff like that. But
yeah, there's still some unique mechanics left, I'm sure.
Anywho, BattleBit though has gotten a lot better, and I hope it continues. Like they've done some changes on attachments where now you can like spec into like aiming faster. So there's like some kind of cool. You can take like some ARs and kind of like make them a bit more SMG like, and it's 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 a cool game. I like it.
That's cool. Yeah, I think if we want a Battlefield-esque kind of game, like we'll probably get back to it. I would think at some point, but yeah, not really in that mind at the minute. You reminded me just of just before we close off on that topic about the medic, because as I said last week, I'm still playing a bit of FoxHole
Oh
at the
yeah.
moment. I'm like still fiddling around with that a little bit, looking at like more of the logistical stuff now. I've like tried like switching between different roles, and like was trying playing as the medic last week, and that's like directly relevant for this because again, it's like balanced in such a way that as a soldier you can take. It's actually very similar to BattleBit, I guess, in some sense, except there's got an alternate way of like fixing the balance. So as an individual soldier, you can take a bandage and you can heal yourself of a bleed, but you can't actually heal your HP. As a medic, you can heal yourself of a bleed the same way as everyone else can, but you can't heal your own HP. You can only heal other people's HP. So you need to kind of stick with other medics, sort of. Not really, but like it's better if there's another one nearby, because if you get damaged, you need them to heal you. You can't heal yourself with your own medical kit. And it's funny the way it works in FoxHole because there's two resources for medics. One of them is bandages, and the other one is blood plasma. So blood plasma, if somebody gets like knocked down, you can get them back up with the blood plasma in this like trauma kit. But the regular bandages are interesting because they act as ammunition for the medical kit. So everyone has like one bandage which heals a bleed, but that's like really inefficient. Because if you get your bleed healed by a medic, they use the bandages as ammo for their med kit, and the med kit has like 10 charges or something.
I see.
So you're better off like giving the medics the bandages and like going back to get healed by the medics if you want to conserve resources, which is kind of fun. But yeah, as a medic, you can't heal yourself, only the bleed, like anyone else. So it's like that's kind of like how they've balanced it there.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like FoxHole is much more organized. Obviously, it's like a very organized kind of game. Like you have the frontline soldiers; they come back to people. Like people go down at the front. You have 30 seconds to get back up. So people like grab the dudes that have gone down and run them back. If you grab somebody and lift them onto your shoulders, you can't shoot or anything. And you're like slow, but it pauses their timer for them actually to be dead. And so you can like run somebody back to the medics, drop them, and then they use the blood plasma to get them back up again and heal them, and then off they go back into the fight. So it's kind of like incentivized, but you don't want the medics doing that because if they get killed, then you're kind of out of luck. But there's no class really. There's no classes. Like you just wear a different. So the uniforms get produced, and you like wear the medic uniform, and that all that does is the medic uniform allows bandages to stack. So like anybody could use the medic stuff, but unless you've got the medic uniform on, the bandages don't stack and the blood plasma doesn't stack. So it's just more of a pain. So there's no like you don't have to like pick a class, but you build a class based on the perks of the uniforms that you can grab. But again, all that stuff has to be produced elsewhere. Like you run out of medics uniforms, you run out of people who are able to do medicing like more easily. It's like it's weird, like this sort of emergent player based stuff. Like I found even more things out about FoxHole recently actually, and this is like slightly off topic, but there's like this weird research system. It's because it's a little bit like playing an RTS.
I was gonna say this is all in
RTS.
first person, right?
No, it's all third person.
It's not. Oh, okay,
No.
okay, that makes more sense.
FoxHole is all third person, and the fighting is weird in the game. I will say it's weird because it's like there's elevation, but you can't control the elevation. You just like hold aim, and there's like tricks to kind of like if someone's in a trench, it's almost impossible to hit them, but you can like move your cursor past them to get the right angle. Like it's really weird. The aiming and shooting system is like really bizarre. I'm sure it would put some people off a lot. But the tech system is strange because like each side has like one tech tree kind of thing, and it turns out that like because it's complicated and there's like a small chance of getting tech resources when you're mining the basic resource. That both teams, I think it used to be worse apparently, but both teams have like semi-organized themselves with people who like look after the tech, and that's like what they do. They just like look after the tech tree because you kind of want to pool everybody's resources together rather than everyone doing it like in like a slapdash kind of approach. And there was like two systems, a different system for each faction, just because that's just how it emerged. Like you could do it in multiple different ways, and the two factions ended up with two different systems for collecting and organizing tech between them, just because like the emergent player behavior came out differently on one faction versus the other, and that's just how historically it's always been done. And so now that's just like the two factions just have a different system for organizing technology, which is like really, I really like that stuff. It's so cool. Seeing the history of those kind of things and just how they like come through. It's kind of fun.
I gotta try this game now. We gotta add it to my
It's
wish
interesting.
list.
Oh, it's certainly interesting. I mean, it's like as I said, I still don't know. I'm not. I think you're better off playing in the bigger group. I think, and maybe I'm still like the jury's still out on it. Like I I'm like so fascinated by the game,
Right.
and I'm still not 100% sure if I'm having fun.
I love
But
that.
I'm so fascinated.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm dabbling with like doing the building stuff now. You can like build bases that make stuff, but to make anything like remotely usable, you need like a bunch of different inputs. But you can't do it all on your own because it takes a long time, or the resources are scarce, or there's just a lot of manpower required in doing this stuff. So it's like you have to kind of specialize, but then it's just complicated. You have to like work with other people to try and like see who actually wants the output that you're making, because a lot of the time you're making like intermediate materials for other things. Like it's weird. I don't know. I'm still like I'll still probably progressively update everybody on like how it's going, because I'm still like I just don't know, man. I just don't know.
It sounds like one of those games, like if you find your community, you know, the right community, your place you
Yeah,
belong, it's a great experience. But
I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. Like I'm playing with two reluctant friends and one friend who is also keen to play, but is often not like plays at a different time to me. So like we sometimes play together, but um it's just weird. But it's like there's a lot to do, there's a lot to explore, and that's what I like. I like learning about systems and stuff. And the fact that it is very sandboxy, it's very much on the same school of thought as lots of these other games that kind of relate to whatever. So like people are building like facilities of things all over the map. Like you just choose, like I just decided where to go and just like built some concrete or some like foundations and just made some buildings, and they just started making stuff, and I bring it resources and it starts making things, and it's like, okay, I can go to the front, or I can like deliver ammo or mine stuff or whatever, like whatever you want to do, you can do. Um, so yeah, I will see. Maybe it's. I think it's. I think the game is easier to get into in a group, in like a bigger group, or like join some
yeah,
kind of regiment
right. I can totally see that.
rather than playing it solo. But like, I'm not really a regimenty kind of person, and also, if people want to put like time demands on me, that's also not going to work. So that's why I don't know. I need to find like a group of casual people who are just chilling and just play
Yeah.
whatever, rather than being like, you need to be on watch from
Right.
10 until midnight, like every day. Like that's not gonna work. So
It's funny.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I actually, yeah, last night I had two people recognize me,
Oh,
which
that's
is
cool.
unusual because the whole rest of the time that I've been playing, no one has. And I was like, it's actually, I mean, it's kind of better in some ways, but someone was just like, "Are you the guy who makes the videos?" I was just like, "Yeah, I am, yeah." And then someone else recognized me last night, but it's like a lot less than in BattleBit, interestingly. So the communities are like much more separate, which is kind of fun. Especially kind of what you were saying about the timing with BattleBit. Like lots of Tarkov people were playing, so lots of people recognize me in game. Whereas like yeah, FoxHole, like if you go and look at the again like Steam charts kind of thing, like FoxHole's actually probably a game that it does better with less people. It's got a pretty steady player base. It's actually gone up over time. It was like 1,000 for ages, and then 3,000, 4,000 for a while, and then it jumps to like 12K when they do an update. It was like 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, and it's jumped back to like 10,000 with the latest update, and it's kind of gone back to 3,000. But because everybody plays on the same map, you they actually had to like split it up because there were too many people at one point.
Oh, really?
So there was like the main war happens on like one server, and then they split it up into three. But then when the player base went back down, they closed server two.
Oh, so it's one giant ass server initially. Wow.
So
I
now
thought it
there's
was like
two.
multiple servers always.
Yeah,
That's
there's just
interesting.
two at the minute. Abel and Charlie, and Abel's where the real war happens, and I'm playing on Charlie just to like noob around and do whatever. But
Yeah, it's funny.
yeah, it's kind of fun. I guess if the player base like drops again and there's like gets really small, and maybe they'll like restrict it again. Who knows? But yeah, like I'm intrigued. Like looking into everything at the minute. Yeah, it's fascinating how it works, and the fact that it's so reliant upon like players working together. It's amazing that it functions at all. But yeah, it's interesting. Speaking
Hell,
of other stuff, you played the new Nawkwon game.
I only got to play one round, so I tried to like squeeze it in before I had to go somewhere and didn't really get a chance to play it again.
What did you think so far?
Well, I'm a little sad, but I'm not surprised. Not too surprised, anyways, that there wasn't a big social hub and there wasn't like a little village and there wasn't people interacting with me. No, it was just a menus, and as I kind of expected, but I had a
Yeah.
little glimmer of hope there.
I mean, it's very early access, so who
Of
knows whether they'll
course.
add that. I don't really know, but yeah, because right now you seem to. This is the new like zombie apocalypse game, Nawkwon Last Paradise, where you're on like an island. It's like the last place that hasn't been destroyed by the zombie apocalypse, and you have to go out and scavenge for stuff. I've played like a couple of little runs where I found a GPU on my last one. I was like, we need to get out. And it says like, extremely rare and coveted like item. You need I was like, oh, we've found a graphics card
Really?
already. People were like streamer loot. I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, I mean, like as you say, it's very menu orientated. So there's a map of like I guess the island that you're on, and you start as an illegal immigrant into the island, and then you like buy your first citizenship thing, and so you're like a resident, but you don't have like citizenship status. And as you go up the ranks, there's like more unlockable like areas on the island that you can get into, so to speak. But it's just menu driven. Like when you got to, I think I got to rank 2 or 3. Like I leveled up twice, I think, in the citizen grade. And at the next rank, it's like, oh, you can go to this next area. But I didn't realize it just unlocks like 2 more shops. So you could just see the shops. And I'd already seen the shops. I was like, oh, I guess this guy's like Ragman, and this guy's like, oh yeah, this person's like therapist. And it's just their shops are just like in the next area on the list. Which, yeah, I was the same as you. Like, oh, it's a shame there's not more open kind of areas, because you're just like your menu as Church is showing on the screen. You're basically in your room. You go to the dock, which is where you launch into the mission. And at the moment, you only seem to be able to go to the main city, which is what was shown in the original trailers. One thing that I would say is good, when you click matchmaking, you can like mess about in your inventory and do stuff, which is like a huge quality of life thing that we've been talking about in EFT for like ever. Being able to click matchmake and then just be able to mess around with things until it actually loads you into the game would be crazy. There was another quality of life thing that I did notice about it that I was like, oh, that's a shame, is that you can't swap items in the inventory. You can't drag an item to another item and swap it. I was like, that's cursed Tarkov for a long time. So many people had forgotten that was even a thing in Tarkov that people found weird, that I reminded everyone that like being able to drag one by one item to another one by one item and then not to just switch place in the inventory is something that Tarkov is like incapable of doing because of the way that the inventory system works, which is, and like that also is the reason why. And we had a chat about like a little bit of realism stuff, but I don't think it really matters. But that's like primarily the reason why in Tarkov you can't reload if you like properly, if you don't have a slot. You always have to keep a slot free because 2 items can't be swapped. Like the mag has to go into a slot, and then a new mag has to go into your gun. And yeah, there's kind of reasons for that. But yeah, not being able to swap items is annoying. So I hope they'd fix that. But yeah, being able to matchmake while you're fiddling around is a huge plus. I really, really like that actually. I think that's good. So yeah, I mean, it's a relatively regular sort of DayZ style inventory. I wouldn't say it's even as complex as Tarkov necessarily. I guess it's sort of similar, right? Grid system. It's like we see in all these games now. Like no one's really iterated on this recently. And then I saw GreyZone as well. We're going to talk about that in a minute with their new trailer. But like I saw some people talking about that being like, oh, they've just taken the inventory system. It's like it's basically like the inventory system these days, Like even the old like RPGs, like back to Diablo, and like even before that, we're using the same kind of system, like different sized items. We have weight on top of that now, but all of those ARPGs use that kind of system. So did DayZ, Stalker, I believe, Tarkov, and all of these new games are all using it. It's like people understand the inventory, they know it, they know what it means, they understand how it works. Like how else can you really do it in a way that's good? Like Dark and Darker, same thing. It's tricky. It's tricky to come up with something that's unique and not annoying. But yes, you've got like body armor and helmets and different bits and pieces that you can buy from the shop. I just did a quick couple of runs. And how did you find it in game? I found like sometimes, I mean, I was streaming as well, which I have to like usually optimize my system quite heavily to make it work properly. I found that getting into fights with zombies made it really laggy for me for just like a few moments, and then it went back to normal. But that could have been a symptom of like streaming it at the same time and not optimizing my settings. Was the performance okay for you?
I mean, I only played one. I didn't really notice any performance issues.
Did you fight any zombies, or did you sneak to the exit?
I was testing different things, so I purposely aggroed. Like I did a mission, I like purposely aggroed um some zombies and like see how their pathing was, and it was
Yeah.
okay, you know. Um, I ended up running into a player who
Mm.
I think they were also new and slash learning because we didn't really engage, even though we like ran past each other a couple times. It was very, it was, I was kind of just goofing around just to
Yeah.
get a quick fill in before I had to leave. But
Yeah. I saw another player and we just kind of like nodded and passed us by. I don't think there's any VoIP, which is a shame. I know it's a thing that you have to add, but no VoIP does make player interactions kind of awkward, as we know from Tarkov pre-VoIP.
mhm.
Big thing to add. I found that I thought the zombies were quite jank. They reminds me of like Daisy, and it's like a pre-alpha, so fair enough. But it reminds me of like the original Daisy mod. You know, just like really like stuttery, glitchy kind of like where they actually are physically present and trying to hit them is not always that obvious. Like it's just weird. I didn't find it necessarily that good, and like the vaulting was okay, but it didn't always register. I vaulted over a bunch of cars and like jumped at the car a little bit, and then managed to get over and stuff. And the stamina system also seems a bit strange. Like if you get low on stamina, it like won't let you run for a while, and like there seems to be no
Yeah,
indication when you're actually allowed to run again. And so it's like there's a lot of like polishing to do with the actual mechanics, but it plays out a lot like you'd imagine with that we saw from the trailer. I think I punched two zombies to death with a stick and then looted their body. It wasn't too hard to do. Like I got swarmed at one point by like 2 or 3 zombies, and it wasn't the worst. Like I wasn't like I died immediately, so they weren't like that. They weren't as dangerous as I thought. Oh yeah, the fact that you can like hold F to like slow open doors, that's
yeah,
really cool.
that's
That's
cool.
something that I've seen suggested in Tarkov for a while. To be able to slowly open things, to slowly loot things, to slowly reload, to slowly whatever, so you don't make as much audio. I've certainly heard those ideas before. EFT, so seeing some of those mechanics in this, I mean, especially if it's like more stealth related, then that seems like quite a good idea. I don't really know like whether you're supposed to be able to sneak past all the zombies completely if you go slow enough, whether they're always going to see you at some point. I found myself like in both of them just like running like crazy
Hmm.
from tons of zombies and then vaulting over stuff and
Yeah,
getting out of the way. Like they lose aggro relatively easily, it seems,
yeah,
which did seem to be the better way to move around the map. Just creep a bit until you're seen, and then just like sprint, and then you've got like 7 after you, but then you like vault over a big fence, and then you creep afterwards. Oh yeah, there's also a toxic gas thing as well. I forgot about that. There's like a battle royale. Like it's not a zone that appears. It's like it appears from like some epicenter, and then it turns into a circle that expands out after that. And I think that's the get out of the raid or you die mechanic that forces you out. There's no timer otherwise. I don't think. I think it's all about the toxic gas zone. So yeah, I mean, ultimately for me, it's all just going to depend on like making some of these systems a bit better in terms of like less jankiness, and then like how the progression works and whether that's appealing or not. Because how much I'm going to want to sneak around the zombie apocalypse place that's like looting things, I don't know. Like it's going to have to be compelling. The progression system's going to have to feel good. You have to get
yeah,
some good perks for doing it. Like I don't really know what any of that looks like right now.
yeah. I thought about that, and because I immediately thought like, well, Tarkov, you know, you kind of get to like see what you're working towards, like the giants, you know,
Hmm.
Giga Chad loadout, the flea market. You can just like look at all this cool stuff that you can't have like early in the days. That's how it felt, anyways.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
lucky scav junk box. Oh my god, 1,000,000 rubles. I'll never get there.
Hmm. Yeah, as we said before, like I used to look on the flea for stuff, and I know you can't see them there anymore, but it was like the thick items cases were up for like 17, 18 million rubles, and you're just like, I'm like scrabbling around here with like 100K just trying to build a loadout. Like, how do people ever have that much money so that they can
Yeah.
buy thick items cases? This is crazy. Like, and I like that. That was one of the things that made me really want to play it and like get good. So
Yeah, one
yeah, I
thing
don't know.
I did is I actually took no weapon in, and I noticed I
Hmm.
couldn't like punch or anything. It just defaulted the bandage out, which I thought
Oh,
was kind of like surprising. So I don't know.
well, you have to have a weapon then.
I guess I'm not sure, because like if they grabbed you, then you could like break out or something. So maybe that's how you're supposed to fight. I'm not sure,
Maybe, yeah. There's a weird quick time
but
event that you
Yeah.
get when they grab you around the neck or whatever. You have to like hammer on the F button to release. There's also this weird arm stamina I can see because Church is playing it now. Church is
This is
playing it
not
now
going well for me.
on the showcase. But there's that weird like yellow arm stamina, and you seem to
Yeah.
run out of that arm stamina before the zombie dies, which is quite annoying. And it's just like, oh, you can't hit them anymore. And I just felt that that mechanic was bizarre and awkward. I
Well,
wasn't really that much of a fan of that.
I mean, I assume that the idea is like you're not supposed to engage in combat. It's like a last resort thing. Like this is much more stealth focused, you know?
I think so.
Which, you know, it to each their own, I guess. I mean, it feels like a very like we said last time, like Last of Us meets Tarkov in a sense. Like extraction mode anyways. I got a lumber stick. Wow.
Is that a weapon?
It is. It only has 1 star for attack. So it can't be that good.
Oh.
My mace with spikes on it has I don't even know what this thing is. Reinforced club has 2 stars.
Yeah, I mean, when's this open until? I can't remember. Let me have a look. I'll try and find out when it's open. Oh, it's probably easy to look on the Discord. It is open until the 4th of December. So, yeah, it's until... I know we talked about it last week, so people should have been ready. But by the time this goes out, I think that'll be the last day. It probably is finished, actually, by the time that it goes out, I think. Because it's like, for me, it's like 8 a.m. on the 4th.
Yeah.
So by Monday morning, for me, it's gone, and this will go out later. So if you didn't manage to test it then yeah, you've missed your opportunity for now. But I mean, it looks like there's even already been some stuff that they've updated. To be fair, like characters always getting stuck in terrain or whatever. They've already done like a hotfix, which is quite cool. Oh, a couple actually. Yeah, there's a couple. So I played it like right at the start, so maybe it's like slightly less janky than it was previously. But
oh yeah, because I did try to play it late last night because I couldn't sleep, and yeah, it was like down for maintenance. Like, oh, how convenient.
mm-hmm.
Oh, look, a player.
Oh,
does he know?
Yeah, you can see the other people's like flashlights quite obviously. I don't know. Can you turn it off? I'm not sure whether you can turn it off.
I'm not sure. I tried pressing L. I didn't really bother with the controls, but maybe
I don't think there are any, by the way, because I had a look in the control setting, and there you can't change them. Currently,
it's very early access.
It's very early access to the point at which there's like no controls that you can even change.
Is it a Taiwanese studio?
Oh, chat says middle mouse button. Someone didn't play the tutorial. I
did.
Can attest. I certainly did not play the tutorial. Yeah, middle mouse button then. Exactly. So the other game that we looking at, but as like further back in the progression, but closer to what we're used to, is GreyZone, which I'm honestly like trying to suppress my excitement about because
really
it looks so good. But like who knows? You know what I mean? Like it's just such a good base. They've released like the second trailer. I actually did a video about it. I did like an off schedule video because they released the second trailer and they actually showed the creators who were interested the trailer early so that we could like make content about it and release it at the same time, which is quite cool, which is why you see a bunch of people who've like released videos all at the same time about GreyZone. I even had some people being like, this video is sponsored, right? Like surely. And I was like, no, I just think this game's cool. So Nice Guy's also done a video. He has done a bit more work on it than me though. And he got a bit more information from the actual devs about like a few various elements of the game. I just basically went off what was in the trailer because I'm just intrigued and I think people should be following along with it because I think it's fun. But yeah, I was like, it sounds like from what Nice Guy's spoken to the dudes about that it's more of a PvE experience with PvP incidentally also there. But in some ways, it kind of piques my interest like more because it's like 3 different PMC factions and you can like capture and hold objectives for that PMC faction. So it might be more of like a, I don't know, this like permanent world with like the living world thing with like real life consequences, a bit like what I was talking about with FoxHole, right? It's like emergent player behavior of like capturing stuff. It might be the perfect game that I'm looking for. in terms of being able to like capture land and like being part of a bigger faction, and like if the faction's organized properly and not just like PMC karma as we've been threatened with for ages in Tarkov. If it's actually organized correctly, then it could be really cool and like super compelling and actually like really interesting to play. Like I don't mind playing like mostly PvE. They said that the deal with the PvP is that other people are going to be there, but it's not unusual to play for hours and not run into players. And I mean that's sort of similar to, in my mind, to DayZ in some ways, right? Like you can play DayZ in a way that you're playing for hours without seeing anyone. Like that's certainly possible if you don't go to the super hotspots. So I feel like that could be the same. I don't know, man. Like it just looks cool, and like the game looks beautiful from the engine, and I'm intrigued. Like it could end up not being that compelling, like all these things, but I don't know. Just I'm looking forward to seeing more. I am. I'm hopeful. I'm trying to like I'm trying to really stem the cope. You know.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, it seems like they got a lot there right now, as is, and it feels like I think I watched your video, like, you know, they like adjusted the scopes. I mean, the scopes look really good, like the actual 6x or whatever, you know, the actual ones with zoom, but even like the red dots look better, which they like tweaked previously because I think there was some criticism or something. But yeah, I mean,
I
it
like
just
the
looks...
vibe, the way it looks. Like even the LPVO, like the LPVO when it came on screen when I first watched the trailer, I was just like, oh, it looks so good, dude. It looks so good. And like there's no FOV change as well. And the scope like fills the screen. Everything blurs. Like there's like depth of field with the scoping, which people will probably turn off, but you know, the way that it looks cinematically is really, really nice. It was just like, yeah, that moment I was just like, oh man, that looks so clean and so crisp. It's like everything that we kind of wanted. And it gives me that like, because I sort of already thought that it looked a bit like Far Cry 3. But then like one of my favorite parts of that game is like going around capturing the outposts and like slowly sort of completing the map or whatever. And like if this game is also kind of like that sort of, but in like a multiplayer kind of sense, and it could be really satisfying. You know, like I've had like discussions with people previously about games that seem like pointless, but they're like very engaging. Like that old game I used to play where you're like battling for territory and control. Like nobody ever wins, but it's just like you're just constantly battling for control of different areas. Like if that's like that, that will definitely entice people. You know, just like endless conflict for no. I mean, apparently you get different stuff. Like I think there might be like different traders for different regions. So if you capture the different regions, you may be able to like access traders that no one else can. Like there's reasons to capture the objectives for your faction, stuff like that. So I don't know, like whether there's going to be like lots of little ones scattered around the map, whether you're going to need to do like a big operation. I don't know how many people can play in the same area at the same time. Like, is it everybody? Is it like hundreds, thousands? Is it just like is there some instancing? Like no one really knows yet. But it's I'm fascinated with this stuff. I really am, especially with games that kind of look okay to start with.
Yeah.
You know? It's the systems. It's like what we said with Nawkwon. It's the systems. If they can get some like cool systems in, then like I'm down to try it. You know, I love delving into new systems and seeing how people have designed things. And then if it's just cookie cutter, it's kind of like okay, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, for what they got for pre-alpha, it doesn't look bad, and the parts that look good, like make Tarkov look like pre-alpha. You know what I mean? Like they have mounting in, the graphics look really good. The LPVO scopes look really good. Like I personally don't even mind the depth of field, like as like a balancing mechanic. Like I think that's fair. Like if you couldn't toggle it off, I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind too much. I don't think, especially given it's like around the edge. But like it just looks so good, right? The optic looks so good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
yeah, it's an interesting choice because of the whole like no FOV change thing. Because we talked about that before. I talked about it in my video a little bit. Like you pull your scope up and there's no FOV change. It's like an interesting, just an interesting choice to have that be the default.
Yeah, I personally don't mind it, but I think I like having a zoom option as well, but kind of like DayZ. But you know, it's
like you said last time, it's like no FOV change, and then you hold shift and it like focuses you in. Like that's quite a cool. Good idea.
Man, look at the scenery, like the background looks so
I know,
amazing.
Man. This is Unreal like 5. Everybody's computer's gonna like set on fire.
Yeah, well, Unreal 5 is really impressive with the nanite or whatever tech they got going on.
It just looks
So,
extremely cool.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, about the whole PVE thing, just remains to be seen whether it is going to be as compelling enough to want to play enough. But yeah, if capturing stuff is worthwhile enough and not too hard, doesn't require like a coordinated clan of
Right.
like 50 people to do, then yeah, it could be cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Right, it could be cool.
one thought, as far as like accessibility goes, if the idea is like you do a bunch of like missions and PvE stuff to then do the PvP stuff, which is like the big challenging thing,
Mm.
that could kind of make it more accessible, versus like, it's a PvE game, and sometimes you're gonna get dicked on, and sometimes you're not. That you said, kind of like how Tarkov is. But if it's more like, okay, like on the weekends there's gonna be this big uh clan v clan thing, and you have to like prepare during the week, or but something like this where it's not so um it's like hybrid, making it more accessible for like the average player, not to like lose all their progression, where you have this sort of like build up,
Mm.
and then you go do the fun thing, and it's like, oh, whatever, next we'll just do it again next week. I don't know.
Yeah, we will see. We will certainly see.
All right, before we close, I just want to squeeze in one comment here. This was interesting. So random input late after hearing a section about extract campers, which was like quite a few episodes ago, but we talked about extract camping and whatnot, incentives and solutions, whatever. But they say, I'm not sure if either of you know about the peak on reserve at Dome, where you can see D2 through the walls and check for extract campers. But after feeling as though we had been camped a lot recently, me and my friend began counter extract campers in our reserve raids when possible, and our findings were that in the 27 reserve raids in the last couple of, or that they were in 27 reserve raids in the last couple days. 15, I think. I think wording's a little bit messed up here. I'm pretty sure, unless my reading is also kind of screwy, but it sounds like in 27, in the last 15 days, there was 27 D2 campers, is what I'm interpreting that as. They go on to say,
So was that half then? Is that what they're saying? Like
I think so.
15 raids, 20, sorry, 15 campers in 27 raids, I think.
Let me read this one more time. So, began counting extract campers and reserve raids when possible, and our findings were that in the 27 reserve raids in the last couple of days, 15 exclamation mark of them had extract campers in D2. Okay. So
Yeah,
I read
that's
the
it.
exclamation mark and ended the sentence. That's where I
Mhm.
messed up. Upon building upon that, because we both had Red Rebel, we decided to wait and see if they would give up. Of the 11 that we watched, after deciding to time them, 9 of them waited until 2 minutes or less remaining to
Oh.
extract. That means a staggering 55% of our raids we counted had extract campers, that if we're extrapolated the data from our 11 observed campers to the whole 81% of them waited all raid. It is way too high in my opinion, and made me and my friend feel much less insane. Of our opinion, extra camping feels very prevalent, so I found myself bringing all the safe keys reserve, loading up on docs cases so I can then play the game without feeling like a complete waste of time if I died trying to push PvP. Anyways, love the podcast. Giga's first person who got me into nerd side of Tarkov with pin values and everything like that. Truly skyrocket my understanding of the game. Wow, he is lucky for killing me to really being able to break down why I'm losing my shootouts.
Dude, that is actually wild. Like, so many people waiting until like 2 minutes before the end, which presumably is because nobody went there. You know what I mean? Right? Nobody went there. They literally waited until 2 minutes before the end of the raid, just sit there the whole time. But I think there's this. It's ever since it was easy to blame General Sam, but it's ever since that video, like, and it's just the way that you can play an EFT, the fact that you can hear the people coming or whatever. You can literally just be doing something else, and it's like a alternative version of completing quests, like I used to when I was in full-time work at the same time as running the channel, where I would have to be trying to like min-max stuff, and so often I would end up finding myself like doing other IRL things waiting until the last 15 minutes of the raid, just literally like lying there in a bush, because it was the easiest way to get like shoreline quest done, for example.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to try and play it, you're going to run into everybody at the start, and like, yeah, you got to do PvP, and like I was worse than I am back then than I am now. Hard to believe, I know, but it was just easier to do the quest that way, and it was not very efficient in terms of like Tarkov in-game hours, but it was much more efficient in terms of IRL time.
Yeah.
Because you could load in and then do something for half an hour and then use the last 10 minutes to run in, grab the item and leave. And yeah, it's just like you don't have to be actually there at the computer. So it's like the flip side of that, but for extra camping, you just sit there listening for the audio. You're like watching Netflix or whatever, something you were going to be watching anyway, and then you hear something, you pause, and then you go and fight them. Like I see, I get it, but yeah, it sucks, right? I just wish there was a way in Reserve, for example, that you could like press a series of buttons and it just like floods the whole underground with a warning, or like gasses it or something, you know?
That would
Some
be
way
funny.
to
They just
flush
like
everybody
drowned.
out. Yeah,
That
and
would
like,
be fun.
you could have to leave, you know, just give people some bit of a kick up the backside. Like, you shouldn't just be able to sit there for free. It seems kind of cheesy. I mean, it is cheesy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's the
like,
thing.
I don't mind people doing it, but like, there should be mechanics to avoid it in some fashion. Or
Well,
like the
it's
map
just
should be designed in a way that like you can't hold that. Like maybe I know it's realistic, right? It's realistic because you could just hold a point like that. But like, is it realistic that you have to get out of there as the only free exit? Like that's not realistic. Surely you could just climb the fence or do something else. If you're like IRL, you wouldn't go in there if you knew it was like, oh, this place is like very heavily contested. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go there then, rather than trying to do like literally anything else. I know you could go to the train.
yeah, that's true. Reserve is skewed. I mean, it's like skewed doubly so for the extract camper and the extractor, because like the extract camper knows you have to cut on power. So I am assuming they could check for that. Maybe they took that feature out where you could check your extracts and see if power turned on or not. I can't remember if Reserve actually changed that. I want to say that's the case or not. Anyways, they have like
you can't
one.
see if what can you see now? You now can't. I don't think you can see it at all. I don't think you can see if power's been turned on at all.
I don't think you can unless you're physically in the space and you see the lights on.
Yeah,
right?
I think you have to see the lights now.
And I think when you're camping D2, I don't think you have any indication. I could be wrong if power's on or off. I'm not positive on that. I haven't camped D2.
I guess you
Not
can't
like
press the button if it's off. You can press the button if it's on.
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah,
So you would know
shout.
if you're in there.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, if you're camping the exact spot. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm sure there's probably some creative ways you could figure that out. You know, but yeah, I just feel like you have too much. Like the camper has a lot of information that the person getting camped has so limited options. You know, it's like had Rev Rebel. Like turning on the power is already risky as is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like making your way to D2 is risky, and then like actually going into the extract is like risky. You know what I mean? It's like it's so heavily weighted in favor in one way. It's not even yeah. It's why it's like why I don't really play that map that much. Like the extracts suck in general, but I thought that was interesting. Like the statistics are of course small sample size, wouldn't draw any major conclusions, but it's just very interesting that was their experience. Like
Small
that seems
sample size, but
oddly
if it's
high.
50-50, that seems higher than my personal experience.
Yeah, I would say so too for me. I don't play a lot of Reserve. Like I don't like that map in general. And actually, you know what? It's funny. I would now I think about it, is like it's like we don't even, when I was playing with my group back in the day, we wouldn't even go there once D2 came out because the extra camping, because we had like such bad experiences. We were just like, all right, you know what? We're only gonna do this map when we all have Red Rebels, because otherwise it's not a fun experience.
Yeah, people just only go there when they can avoid it. Basically, at this point, like as I said, I've taken it quite a few times, and you get into kind of some interesting scenarios down there, which is kind of fun. Like sometimes I do it just because it's kind of risky. Like going up to domes, like kind of boring, but it just kind of spices it up a bit, and it's like kind of fun. If you do kill the extra camper, it's like it's quite. There's something rewarding about that in its own right, which is cool. But yeah, if you want to play it seriously, Red Rebel's the easy way to do it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I think that's going to conclude today's cast. Unless you got anything else, Giga. Closing thoughts?
Nope. All good. 1st of December today, as of this recording. So come on, the arena. Come on. Let's go. We're in that awkward period of Tarkov where like everybody knows the wipe's coming. And so I'm sort of a bit like, it gets harder for me to make content that I think is like genuinely useful to people.
Sure.
And the temptation to make more like speculation about the next wipe content like grows rapidly, but there's only so much of that you can make. This period is always a little weird for me, I find, because I guess like challenges is probably the easiest way, but then you have to plan that to do it on stream, whatever. So like, we'll see. Now that we're like done with the PvP challenge, now that I've got to Lightkeeper and got his dongle, killed Caban, finished Gunsmith, did the PMC event, got the 50 kills. Now it's like, okay, let's just figure some stuff out. I've started playing around with the new thermals. That's like the next thing on the list. Use the new thermals. I used the Echo 1 and got to the end screen and had killed 2 PMCs that I didn't even realize were PMCs. Such is the thermal.
Right.
So I'm going to try the Zeus, I think, in maybe next week. And then, I might do a video about them. I've done videos previously about all the thermal scopes, but I haven't done ones about the updated ones, so I might do that. And then, I'm just kind of like waiting for the new content, really. It's, I'm just holding pattern until the wipe. But it shouldn't be long. It should be, my best guess is like 27th, 28th, something like that. After Christmas, before New Year.
I'm hoping like before Christmas, after Christmas, but like I don't really want January to be the reality because then that makes me worried it's going to be like, further down in January. Like I'm much more interested to play the actual wipe because I don't know what arena is going to be like testing wise. Like, will it be? Yeah, I don't know what that. I don't know because I just wonder if it's going to be like the older features and not like the newer features are coming to Tarkov, like recoil and whatnot. So there's just
I don't know.
Some questions there, but
I'm not sure.
In general,
I'm excited for that to come soon.
Yeah,
I want it to come soon. Then there'll be something really cool and interesting to dig.
That's true. At least to be something to do. Yeah.
December should be action packed, and then I'm going to be going to Hanover as well. So in 2 weeks' time, go and watch the arena esports like pros duke it out, or however that's going to be.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if like during that event or shortly after they launch arena ETS or testing, whatever. That seems like a good time to promote it.
I agree. We'll see. I'd be annoyed if they launch it while I'm out there.
I'd be annoyed if what?
If they launch it while I'm out there. I guess it doesn't matter that.
Yeah. Just get up on stage and be like, I'm taking over. Like, you guys requested a sub.
Virtus Pro, get off the stage.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week.
Bye-bye.